In 1959, the Yoruba ancestors, our fathers, voted in the Nigerian elections. In 1964, our fathers voted. In 1979, our fathers voted. In fact, there was a law then, 1979, that if you don't have a voter's card, you will not have access to some fundamental amenities. In Nigeria, that was what happened between 1979 and 1983. Because as at then, many people had already lost interest in the political process of the contraption called Nigeria. In 1993, our ancestors voted. For now, many people voted. Many people who voted are still alive, even on this stage. 1999, many people voted. Yoruba people voted. 2003, we also voted. 2007, 2011, 2015, 2019, Yoruba people voted. I have a question to all Yoruba people listening to me. How has voting changed our lives? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. From the little chronological events of the different republics that Nigeria has witnessed, you are surely going to see that the more we voted, the more our lives become screwed within Nigeria. Now, why did I lay down this chronological event of the voting exercises within Nigeria? The reason why I did that is to tell you that PVC and voting was never our problem. And secondly, there is something that has been silently ingrained into the mentality and the psyche of the Yorubas, the Igbos, the Ijesa, the Benis, especially the Middle Belt and the South. Because of our access to Western education, many of us think we are far better than the people in the North. We have this self-inflicted arrogance that we are more civilized than people in the North. That because we can speak good English, we can put on tie and put on tie and coat and look like a monkey in a jacket. Sorry, I'm not trying to be very personal. We think we are more intelligent than the people in the North. And over time, it has been proven that we are not as intelligent as these people. Ask me why. We all know that the political power in Nigeria belongs to them. And all the time, nationalist forces has always been within the Nigerian contraption, in the Middle Belt and the South. And many people in 1979, before the 1979 elections, they said, we are not supposed to go for this election. We need to return back to the original constitution that founded Nigeria. There are always moderate forces. I call them the liberal elements. And having studied the Nigerian history, these liberal elements, I think they are more dangerous than Boko Haram and ISIS in southern Nigeria. Until we figure out these people and call them who they are, we are not going to be free. These liberal elements are those who rationalize irrationality. These liberal elements, they are not interested in history. They are not interested in justice. They are not interested in any form of modicum of understanding the plight of the indigenous people. What they do is that we have them amongst Yoruba people in their millions. We have them amongst the Igbos in their millions. We have them amongst the Ijesa, the Ogonis. They are bound everywhere. They are our brothers and they are our sisters. They are the reason why and every nation keeps on producing this kind of liberal elements. They act as the gatekeepers for the destruction of their people. Some of them do it unknowingly, and some of them do it knowingly. Let me now tell you something. We now have a very, very, young generation that wants to self-destruct in the name of political correctness, and they are the one pushing the narrative of PVC. May those who die, who lost their life during the EndSARS protests, may they rest in peace. But during the EndSARS movement, I and other nationalists, we tried to speak truth to the conscience of our people. And we tried to tell them, Nigeria does not have a problem of SARS. Nigeria has a problem of the 1999 Constitution. The 1999 Constitution and the unitary police system created the SARS that is killing our youth in southern Nigeria. Destroy the 1999 Constitution and our people will be free. What did they say? They said no. Many of them shot me down. They cursed me. They cursed many of us. We knew how it ended. It ended in the massacre. SARS is gone. Has that stopped anything? But because our youth are not properly educated, they are educated illiterates. The sense of history, ideology, so that can make them become revolutionaries, has been taken away from them. So they end up fighting for what they are not supposed to fight for. So, and unfortunately, we have a social media where a lot of yeyebrities, cashvities, and people that are not qualified to even be sweeping the classroom of any revolutionary group, all of a sudden are the ones hosting Twitter space, Facebook pages, Zoom handles, clubhouse rooms, destroying the lives of our people, telling them, giving them hope in a state of total hopelessness. So we now have a youth. We have youths that do not understand their problem. And somebody with a basic understanding of medicine, for you to properly cure a disease condition, you need to properly understand, do a proper diagnosis of that problem. When you do a proper diagnosis of that disease condition, that is when you are going to be able to cure that disease condition. What is the problem of Nigeria? You can see I tried to set the different premises for my discussion so that there can be a flow, there can be a chronology, and we can properly understand what we are talking about today. Is the leadership problem that Nigeria has, or Nigeria has a Nigerian problem? I repeat, does Nigeria has a leadership problem, or Nigeria has a Nigeria problem? Nigeria has a Nigeria problem because this country was set up to do the following things, so that the resources of the South will be used to cater for the poor North. That was why the 1914 amalgamation was done. 2, Nigeria was created in order to supply raw materials to the metropolis, which is at the European countries. That is 2. Nigeria was also established to do the third thing, which is the destruction of indigenous civilization, destruction of their language, destruction of their spirituality, destruction of their value system, destruction of their ethnic identity, destruction of the essence of who they are. That was why Nigeria was set up by the British. And lastly, it was done to create a centralized system where black people can be easily controlled by the minority. The minority rules the world. The British people that created Nigeria and continue to benefit from the wrath of Nigeria are minorities. The Fulani that we continue to know that there's a Fulani hegemony that believes that feudalism is more better than federalism in Nigeria, they are in the minority. But a powerful minority that is well organized, that is self-conscious, that is powerful, that has the means to have AK-47, will rule millions of majority. That is the situation of Nigeria. And the question I'm asking, you see the different tweets, the different enthusiasm. If we use and bring all our energy in southern Nigeria, the Yorubas, the Igbos, and we push for end the 1999 constitution every day, every time. The likes of Rinu, the likes of Aisha Yesufu, the likes of David Undeyin, the likes of all these British cash TVs. If they did the needful, the likes of the giant Adeyanju, that we are not supposed to go for any election until Nigeria is negotiated. Are we not going to have freedom? No. They continue to make money. They continue to gain followership from the mystery of the people, mystery of our people. I'm not surprised anyways. I remember the day people like Aisha Yesufu came to Clubhouse and he was busy saying that who cares about history? And he was talking so arrogantly, so ignorantly. If you are not careful, you might lose it that day. Because these are people that even want to turn Nigeria into a secular colonial state. Now, this is where I'm now going. As we speak, we have the following terrorist organization within the Nigerian contraption. In Afghanistan, Syria only has 2 terrorist organizations. Maybe some traces of Al-Qaeda and traces and ISWAP. Same thing in Iraq. Same thing across the Middle East. Now, let's now come back to Nigeria. Nigeria has 4 terrorist organizations within its space. These are people that control areas as big as some states. They control local governments. They appoint governors. They do video shots. They are armed with anti-aircraft missiles. They are very powerful. They can keep hostages for the next 3-4 months and collect 1 billion naira in ransom. You know what that means? What is even the allocation of some states in Nigeria per month? Is it even up to 2 billion, some states in Nigeria? This is how powerful. This is how powerful that these non-state actors are. All of a sudden, we've seen the rise of Ansaru. We've seen the rise of ISWAP. We've seen the rise of the Fulani militias who came from Mali because they are the ones really leading the insurgency in Mali. And we also have, Ansaru. We also have ISWAP. We have Boko Haram. These are people. These are non-state actors, very, very powerful. We now see situations whereby the Nigerian police are guiding Fulani warlords in the north, giving them chieftains. They are so powerful that they are untouchable. They will even be granting interviews saying, I don't kidnap people, we only kill people. And all of a sudden, you still believe that your permanent voter's card, something that some nuisance created in just a plastic, is going to stop you from being slaughtered. The highest thing somebody can take away from you is your land. You've seen that this is not a matter of APC, PDP, or any political affiliation. It's a matter that some people have an ulterior motive to take away your land and to transform Nigeria from an indigenous space to a secular colonial state. And what is secular colonialism? Secular colonialism is a form of colonialism where non-indigenous people come into an indigenous space, take away their land, displace them, and start taking over that space. There is no day in Nigeria, at least every 2 days, you are going to hear 100 people displaced, 300 people displaced, 400 people displaced. Go to the Middle Belt, go to the Kokoro North. You are going to see that every day, you are going to see that there is continuous creation of internally displaced refugees in their millions, even bigger than what you have in Ukraine, bigger than what you have in Syria. Yet you still think a miracle is going to happen. You still talk about PVC. A miracle is going to happen. Weeks ago, the Nigerian government wanted to start creating resettlement cities. The people that have been displaced from their land have no hope of going back there. The cities will now be created in other people's spaces. to take away indigenous people from a space and plant them to another space, while those who kill them, those who took over those space, we're moving into that space. The South is now feeling the heat, having to go to your street and see strange faces, left and right. We all know that this is true, that even across Yoruba land, we now have terrorist activities, from Kaaba to a war. And when these terrorist activities take place, the next thing we hear is that they are from Libya, they are from Mali. Yet you still come on Twitter space to talk about PVC. Where is thy conscience? Where is thy conscience? Even though some of the Southwest governors knew a day like this was going to come, they tried to create Amotekun. Who are the people who said Amotekun must not be allowed to use AK-47? Who are the people? Why are you being politically correct with your survival, Southern Nigerians? Why are you being politically correct with how you are going to survive, Yoruba people? The Yoruba land you have did not just grow up it did not fall from the sky. Some people spilled that blood to give you Yoruba land. What makes you a Nigerian is because you are a Yoruba person. If you don't have any ethnicity, you cannot be a Nigerian. Why do you now want to destroy your ethnicity because of a Nigerian that never existed? I want to ask you a question. If you know your history and you are very sincere, was this the Nigeria your forefathers negotiated? This was not the Nigeria your forefathers negotiated. This was not the Nigeria they negotiated. This was a Nigeria they never hoped for. They were rigmaroled into a Nigeria. At least they controlled their space. But we still knew that within that space, they never had the opportunity to fully control their destiny. Your lands, your waterways, every day some people are making laws to take it over. And without water, without land, people are useless. Without land, without water, people are useless. And Judas Iscariot to do the land use act to take away the land from the people of Southern Nigeria, from the indigenous people of Nigeria. And let me tell you something, according to international laws, if the Fulani take any inch of your space and you take them to any court of law, that land has belongs to them, because by conquest you can also take over a land. This is why we must do what we need to do and be very, very sincere that the 2023 elections should not be what we should be discussing. Did you see that nobody is even talking about survival? Nobody is talking about food, accommodation, having a stable forex exchange. People are talking about how to survive. People are talking about how to have food. They've properly marginalized us. It is called the marginalization agenda, the feudalism of the South. What is keeping the South from becoming like the North is the diaspora. Take away the Southern diaspora from the South. The South will run into poverty within 1 month. It is because there are billions of Southerners in the diaspora sending hand-earned currency to their families at home to feed. That is why our people have not started feeding from the dustbin. And that is why many of our Gen Z generation still thinks all is well. That is why they've lost consciousness. That is why they still think 2023 election is still going to save them. Now, this is my final point. The Messiah complex must stop. And this Messiah complex was created through religion, through Islam, through Christianity. You believe that somebody that has a unique activity, a unique attribute is going to come and make something work. Nobody does that in any country on earth. People build institutions. People build organizations that will be well-oiled, that will preserve the interests of the people. You don't want to build institutions in Nigeria. And how does institutions start? By having a fair constitution. Ever since the constitution was destroyed in 1966, the people of indigenous people of Nigeria has never had the opportunity to write their constitution. That is close to over 55 years. Some people have grabbed power. You see them. And the funniest thing is, anytime there is a democratic elections, all the contestants will still go to these people to go and bow down. Those who destroyed our lives. And you still think 2023 election will save you? And I think why you guys are thinking this way is because you do not have the necessary information, the right information. You see every day killings taking place, 30 soldiers killed, 100 soldiers killed. They tell you that the of Madugu, many places in Borno have been taken over. Zamfara gone, part of Kebbi gone, Katsina gone. And you still open your buka cavity to still be talking about PVC. Who cost you? Who cost you? Why should we continue to do this? Why? How are we going to survive as a people with the psyche of our people? The way forward is the renegotiation of Nigeria. The constitution. Nobody is going to make anything great with that constitution. All this nonsense, when we understand our rights, we are going to know that without having a form of regional police, state police, the destiny of the South is rest assured. Many people in the next 20, 30 years listening to me, laughing at me, you will end up as asylum seekers in Cameroon last. And many of you will end up in Togo, eating rice with stone in refugee camp. Go to Ghana as I'm speaking with you. There are millions of people flowing into Ghana because of the instability, insecurity taking place in Ghana. There's a lot of people flowing into that place. Now in Ghana, Togo, the same problem. Benin Republic has the same problem. There is an international agenda that was stopped in the 19th century that has now been reactivated. Black people must be displaced, must be Arabized, must be displaced from their ancestral space in West Africa. And we all know that the powers that be have a problem of natural resources. So if they know, and if you see, both the Europeans and these nomads that are displacing people from their indigenous space, they want access to the same thing, land and resources. Because it is from the land, that is where you have food. It is from the land, that is where you have petrol. It is from petroleum, that is from the land, that is where you have natural gas. It is from the land, that is where you have gold. It is from the land where you have every basic things of life. When your land has been taken away from you, and the international rule of law that all of you continue to parrot, believes that by conquest, your land can be given to another person. And yet, everything these celebrities tell you, every day, let me now tell you these celebrities, every day they move out of Nigeria in their millions, in their thousands. They run away. And ask these celebrities, many of them are historically unconscious. They have identity crisis. They do not even understand what they talk about. Many of them cannot even talk about the history of Nigeria for 10 minutes. Yet, they are the people that are telling you how your life should be. They are the ones that have become your role model. When you guys should organize yourself into different groups, community watch groups, to protect your space. There is no place that tells you that self-defense is not good. There is no law on earth that says that if somebody wants to kill you, you should continue to look. And we got here because of the gatekeepers in our midst. They are listening as I'm talking to you. They are here. As usual. They are the ones who rationalize irrationality. They are the ones that say, you see, let us bring somebody there. They are so stupid. They do not, they can see. They have eyes they cannot see. That Nigeria is not a nation, it is a country of nations. That there is a clash of civilization taking place within Nigeria. For close to 1,000 years, between the year 1200 to the year 1900, close to 800 to 900 years, there was a powerful Islamic Borno empire that was acknowledged throughout the world, even to the Ottoman Empire. That was how powerful this empire was. And the people who built it are still in Nigeria. They are the Kanuris. These are the people that are now doing Boko Haram. They said democracy is not useful for them. Why is the West forcing democracy on a colonial contraption of Nigeria, and the West is laughing with people that are practicing Sharia law? The likes of Qatar, Bahrain, Oman, Saudi Arabia, etc. They have no problem with those people. But they come around and they are forcing democracy with people on people that their forefathers never practiced democracy. These are civilization states. That was what my brother Rewaju was trying to talk about. These are people that have been Islamists almost 1,000 years. They built prosperity in their own, they developed at their own pace. The same thing you are doing to the Sokoto Caliphate. The Sokoto people, Caliphate, they never wanted democracy. They wanted feudalism. You went into that place and you say, oh, there must be democracy. But when we try to tell you that you cannot compare yourself, you cannot compare yourself. Stop comparing yourself to America. Stop comparing yourself to all these European countries. You have to look at the history of your people. What was the system of government of the Ijaw people before the Europeans forced them into this contraction? What was the system of government of the Yoruba people? Same thing as the Igbo people. But you guys, we don't want to hear. You want to go and force PVC on people that have told you that you guys are infidels. Go and read the history of Nigeria. Go and look at the terminologies that the MPC were calling. They were calling the likes of NCNC, the likes of the Action Group, they were calling them infidels. But because they want to tell you, Stakia on you, they will still tell you, oh, that was then. Let us forget about this. Let us move on. Let us move on. We told you that the Nigeria, for you to even say you are proud of it, you are a proud Nigerian, means that you are a product of colonialism, you are a product of genocide. You are a second-class citizen, a third-class citizen of the world, because your identity was imposed on you by some white supremacists. Why do you think some people brought guns and ammunition, brought into your space, changed your identity, and gave you a different name? We've told you several times, you know it is true. But because you're a willing slave, that is who you are. You are going to say, oh, no problem. Yes, I was a slave. I cannot change my name. How can't you change your name? What was the history of your ancestors? And I'm speaking specifically to the conscience of the Yoruba people. It was not a mistake that they stopped teaching history in school. They stopped teaching history in school so that you cannot know the greatness of your ancestors. You are just going to be a bloody servant and continue to defend something defensible. Look at Nigeria. How many northern soldiers are dying in the south? Do you know many of our thousands of our brothers that have died in an unknown war in northern Nigeria? That is why they need our able-bodied men to go and die in their war. A war we never knew anything about. A war we knew nothing about. They will use our resources to continue to build the desert. Why can't we? This is not Nigeria. It's not just, there is no Nigerian identity. I'm Yoruba first. I am Yoruba first. My forefathers, that is what they were. That is who they were. There is no crime in self-determination. We need to re-question and renegotiate this Nigerian identity. Why is it that you cannot even be Pan-African and be embracing the Nigerian identity? It shows you are mentally confused or mentally deranged. Because this Nigerian identity was created for something. And when we talk about the Berlin West African Conference, those who destroyed us via the Berlin West African Conference, they did it so that we will continue to be slaves permanently. Even when we become great, we'll be using their own image. Our image will be totally thrown into the dustbin. We will not be able to have an indigenous civilization that can compete and beat European civilization. That was what they did. Can't you see the parallel? Compare ourselves. Compare Africa to East Asia. East Asian countries were also colonized. But what the East Asian countries were able to do was that they made sure that they built indigenous countries where there was a powerful majority So many of them don't use foreign languages, foreign systems, foreign belief system, foreign value system as their means of building their society. But what do we have in Africa? The 54 to 55 countries in Africa are nothing but empires, ruled, still controlled by those who created them in 1884. Black man, can't you reason and listen this evening? Black man, can't you listen?
Aare Kurunmi, are you still there with us? You got muted.
You continue to shout PVC. You continue to shout PVC and they continue to slaughter you. You continue to shout PVC. They continue to ask for your waterways. You continue to shout PVC. They continue to ask for your lands. You continue to shout PVC. They tell you to your face you are not qualified to rule. You continue to shout PVC. Everything they got, every crazy advantages, unfair advantages they got under the military rule, they still keep it in terms of state structures, local government structures. They tell you they are not on social media. They know what they are doing. You guys your brain is what they will use to build this empire. From your football teams, to your technocrats, to your entertainers, you guys produce the brain that builds Nigeria on the world map. But how are you treated in that country? Fourth-class citizens. You live in a state, in a country where you do not have the means to protect your space. You do not control your resources. You do not control your tax. And they gave you tokenism, governors. Those are Abuja appointees who have to go to Abuja to beg to beg. Is that the way federalism is practiced? Have you ever asked that basic question? Is that the way it's practiced? And they've told you there is no difference between restructuring and secession. But every day, I know you went to church today. You've spoken in tongues that God should give you visa to run to Canada, to run to America, to run to Europe, to run to all these countries where they practice true federalism. And you are still part of the nuisance, coming on Twitter space to tell people about PVC. You don't have conscience because you are part of the gatekeepers of hell that are destroying their indigenous people. We know you guys are reactionaries. You are never revolutionaries. But we are showing you the only branches today. You can still come and join us. You can stop this fake life you are living. Come and join us. Come and join the revolutionaries and do something great for your generation. Come and join the revolutionaries and start living this life. This life of servitude, this life of third-class citizens to the Fulani aliens. Nigeria will either have a national conference or a national conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Aare Kurunmi. Thank you very much for the wonderful submission, and I really do hope those who have ears can listen to it. Welcome, Egbon Ifadare on stage. But just before I go to Egbon Ifadare, I would implore you all to follow the moderators of the room, follow the Think Yoruba first handle, so you get to know when we are having our next topic. Follow Aare Kurunmi also, so that you also would not miss any conversation or any scheduled rooms. Also do follow Egbon Ifadare is one of our co-hosts, and he is also playing an important role in the Think Yoruba First movement. Just before I move on to Egbon Ifadare, I've been following the tweets. There's a Murphy in this room. Murphy, if you're here, I'm asking you to come on stage. We, the Think Yoruba movement, we believe in intellectual conversation. So I'm imploring you to come on stage. But just before you do that, I saw your tweet, so I'm going to read them out in case you are too shy to come up stage. So the first thing he said, Aare, I'm going to give you 5 minutes to deal with this. He said, all I see and perceive are divisions and segregation born out of hatred and greed. What has happened to pan-Africanism and patriotism? That was the tweets. Aare, do you want to take this, or I should read the 2 tweets you tweeted?
Read everything.
All right. So this is the, the normal black man mentality, pan-Africanism, patriotism. And then the second one, he said, and I hope that upon achievement of Yoruba nation, at least I'm glad he understands this would be achieved. He said, Ijeshas, Ijebus, Egbas, or yours would not be fighting for supremacy to the extent of breaking away again. I mean, you can smell the fact that he basically has no idea of historical perspective. But then, over to you, Aare Kurunmi. Over to you.
Firstly, it's the problem is that many of these guys are damaged. And they are damaged to the instance that I'm going to become responding to him. That is why we nationalists have a lot of work to do. It is impossible for you to have listened to the likes of Uluomodebi, Rino, all these nitwits saying bullshit on social media and your brain will properly function. It's impossible. Many years ago, we think we should still be very calm when talking to these elements. We are not going to be calm anymore, because they want to destroy us. They don't know that they want to destroy us. As regards to what he was still talking about, Ijesa, Ijebu, the question I want to ask him is that, when was the last time Ijesa, Ijebu, or when was the last time they killed themselves? When was the last time they killed themselves? Within the Nigerian contraption. So when we even go down the route of talking about Modakeke Ife, who created the Modakeke Ife crisis? During the regional system of government, when the Western region controlled, the Yoruba people controlled their space under the Western region. Did we have a Modakeke Ife crisis? We never had any problem. It was the Nigerian state that created that mess, because it was the federal government that could create local governments. And they preach two brothers, this divide and rule, divide and conquer. And also, maybe he doesn't know that virtually almost all these European countries, there is no European country that never went through any form of civil war. No single European country. Is it Italy? Is it French? Is it the English? Is it the Irish? Was it the Scots? Was it the Hungarians? Was it the Russians? Every single one of them. The Chinese, the Japanese, the Indians. There was a civil war within the people that share the same ethnic identity. And in Yoruba land, we are the most tolerant people on the surface of the planet. There is no place on earth where Christians and Muslims are cohabiting almost in the same population size in peace like in Yoruba land. And we know that there are some elements trying to sow seed of discord, trying to promote political Islam from the north in order to turn our land into Lebanon. So when it comes to managing ourselves, we are the best. And we are not. I'm not trying to blow our trumpets. So that nonsense is trying to say is properly mentally deranged. Even when you go to when you come to Germany is made up of different Germanic tribes. We have the Bavarians, the Prussians, we have the Colons, the Bonds, different Saxons, different Germanic tribes within the same people, within the same country rather. And they've been able, even they practice federalism. People that share the same ethnic identity, the same language, the same bloodline, they don't practice a unitary system of government. But you bring almost over 200 ancestral nations and you forced a unitary system of government on them. And you continue to shout one Nigeria. You guys are mad. Sincerely. It's a mental problem. Because many people that are shouting patriotism needs their mental faculty properly examined. Now, let's go back to Pan-Africanism. I know if I try to start speaking a lot of sociological jargons, many of you don't have the mental capacity to people that think that way, they don't have the mental capacity to understand what I'm talking about. But I will make it very simple. When scores of black people were butchered by Morocco Arabs few weeks ago, none of you Pan-Africanists came out to shout Pan-Africanism. You kept quiet, crawled under the beds of your wives, and you kept quiet. When a lot of our people are being sold as slaves in Libya, you never shouted Pan-Africanism. You kept quiet. The people of Darfur, they are currently being butchered by Arabs, Sudanese Arabs. Black people being butchered by Sudanese Arabs. You never shouted Pan-Africanism. When Fulani herdsmen march into Benue to slaughter pregnant women, young children, men, aged, total carnage, you don't shout Pan-Africanism. You won't shout it. But when you want to use terminologies that you have no idea of what it is, you just want to sound bogus, you start sounding Pan-Africanism. You are an idiot. Because we've reached that extent of not being nice to idiots anymore. And let me tell you something. Those of these guys that brainwash our people, you see their pictures, they are always in Agbada, in nice suits, where they say nonsense. They will never come to this space because their insanity will be exposed once and for all, because they do not have the mental fortitude to engage in an intellectual debate. Down to the last question, last nonsense he said. He said patriotism. What do you mean by patriotism? The Nigerian identity was forced on my forefathers through guns. This is a product of genocide. This is a product of slavery. So what do you mean by patriotism? Patriotism to what? To a country created by the colonial hooligans? Is that the meaning of patriotism? What do you mean by patriotism? Patriotism to a country that have turned my people into a fourth-class citizens? That I don't control my police. I don't control my borders. I don't even have a say in how my constitution was written. I don't control my land. I don't control my resources. I don't have a say in my destiny, my future. Patriotism to what? Patriotism to what? They just tell you patriotism. They tell you patriotism. They give you guns. You go and die die fighting Islamists in Zamfara, in Niger, in Maduguri. Kanuri are slaughtering you. These are people that you have nothing in common with. The Yoruba identity has existed for thousands of years. The Nigerian identity is merely, after amalgamation, is merely 100 years old. So you want me to throw away thousands of years history for something that was created through genocide? Why don't you guys properly use your brains? So let we Yorubas determine our future. We will determine how we go ahead. And when you talk about fighting, the Fulanis and the British orchestrated the problems we had in Yoruba land. From the 1100s to the 19th century, the Yoruba space was one of the most peaceful, prosperous areas of West Africa. But you know you don't know history. You don't know. And you don't wish to know. Because you just want to continue to wallow in your stupidity. And I've seen it. I've observed it. And I've never seen that. I only see that amongst black people. People that do not have the mental capacity to even understand what they are talking about. They want to be the ones that will dictate the destiny of millions in the name of being Gen Zs and being woke. Brothers and sisters, these people must not speak for us or else we'll be destroyed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Aare Kurunmi. Thank you very much. Once again, this is to say hello to everybody. This is Think Yoruba First, and we are a pan-Yoruba nationalist movement. All we care about is just the Yoruba people and the Yoruba land, because we understand that every nationalities think this way. Oftentimes, one of the problems we have is the fact that a lot of our Yoruba brothers have become Nigerialized. And what do I mean by that? They live a mirage, not understanding that there is nothing called the Nigerian, there is no Nigerian name, there is no Nigerian culture, there is no Nigerian language. And this is where it becomes very, very important, where I actually say that the Yoruba language itself is very, very smart. That is the reason why when you're saying in Yoruba that Orile-ede, Orile-ede France, Orile-ede Germany, what is the ede of the Nigerian evil, system? There is none. So I kind of understand that a lot of us, we love this idea of miracle, this idea of mirage, that doesn't exist. And it's time for us to understand how systems are built. Systems are built from a philosophical point of view. But I'll leave philosophy to Egbo Fadari. Just for us to understand. I understand as Southerners, right? More than maybe 1/3 of the people in this room are already thinking of Japa method. But guess what? That country you're actually going to Japa to is actually built on ethnic nationality. It's actually built on your ethnicity. It is on their own ethnicity, right? And it's rather sad, even despite the education we have in Nigeria, a lot of our people cannot differentiate between tribe and ethnicity. Really, really sad. They just keep saying, yes, we have more than 1,000 tribes in Nigeria. Relax. The Yoruba people are one ethnic group, and underneath the Yoruba people, then we have different tribes. So when we talk about this, we need to understand that, look at the Yoruba people, would think Yoruba first. And this is what we are, just like the same way the Russians would think Russian first. The French would think French first. The English would think the English first. I mean, a lot of our Nigerian brothers, they have no idea that the United Kingdom is actually a nation of 4 different nations, where different nations have their own constitution. So and this is why you see that our ancestors were smart, in terms of, Chief Awolowo, and the likes, Nnamdi Azikiwe, what they agreed on was a regional system because they knew we were different. A lot of the people in Think Yoruba First are, a bunch of us are Christian, bunch of us are Muslims, bunch of us are Ijesa practitioners. But then what joins us together is the fact that we are Yoruba people first. We live by the code of conduct of the Omoluabi, which we are sorry, we can't explain to non-Yorubas and for them to understand. It's just the way the world works. You go around, you go to China, these people build their world based on how they see the world. So the earlier we understand this and stop this nonsense of saying people dislike or hate one people. And guess what? I am, a lot of us are not moralists, a lot of us are not humanists, so I am not obliged by the world, to love you because I'm sorry to say, I'm not obliged by it. You look around the world, you ask yourself several questions, right? Israel and Palestine, are they built to love one another? No, historical perspective allows them to understand what needs to be done. Let me stay my lane, you stay your lane. And this is not about hatred, because it's always wonderful when we have this conversation. Things like this just come up. People think that, yes, we are talking about hate, But then there was this, we had there was this time on Think Yoruba First. We got so curious, and we wanted to think we wanted to ask those following the page that what do they think. So we asked this question and we said, why do you want a sovereign independent Yoruba state / nation? Someone said, quote, actually that someone is Alagba Fadari. And I'm, he's been a wonderful, wonderful patriot to the Yoruba movement. And he said, even if city of Ibadan is plated in gold in Nigeria, I still want an independent Yoruba state. What about you? So we did something really important. The first option, we decided that Hausa / Fulani aid should be the first one. Then the second option people could choose from was economic greatness. Then the third one was cultural preservation. And then the fourth one was decolonization. And guess what? Decolonization, which is one of the most important things, at 33%, and it was actually the winner of the vote. Cultural preservation is 60%, and then there's a link between cultural preservation and decolonization, right? So both of them together add 63%. And then economic greatness was 28%, right? And guess what? Hausa Fulani 8 was just at 9%. So once again, we are asking, if, for example, you're tweeting, these people just don't hate, they just don't like one another, they just want, look at the way I love or I like you or I treat you depends on how you treat and respect me. Respect is reciprocal. We would never forget, never. Look at, in the history of the Yoruba people, especially during our generation, we would never forget that Chief Sunday Igboho's house was attacked and 2 of our lovely comrades, were massacred. We would never forget. There is no way you can wipe it off our brain. And that wasn't done by us. We know we did it. We will never forget that a lot of Yoruba people were massacred in Ibarapa and Igogon, to mention it. We would never forget these things. So if you are coming here to talk about hatred, I think he who lives in a glass house, should be careful of throwing stones, because the Yoruba people have never left their own shores, never left their own land to go and intimidate or massacre or rape anybody. It's just madness. Anyways, thank you very much, Aare Kurunmi, for doing justice to that. I'll pass the mic now to Alagba Ifadare. Thank you very much for coming on stage, Egbon. Over to you, Egbon Ifadare. 2023 elections or versus sovereign Yoruba nation. Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, Aboro Aboye to everybody. Thank you, Mr. Femi, and thank you to my good brother, Aare Kurunmi. It's always a pleasure to hear you speak, with your powerful voice and wealth of knowledge. Before I start, I'm going to read a quote from a book called The Death of Africa. This book was published in 1960, and it was written by a man named Peter Rittner. And it goes thus: to some extent, as we've seen, all of the new nations of Africa are Europe-engineered conglomerates. But in the case of Nigeria, the unnaturalness of the unity which was imposed on the country is so glaring that even Africans, as well as different sections of British officialdom, have speculated for years that dismembering the country may be, in the long run, the best way of promoting the people's welfare. Numerous alternative plans for this fragmentation process have been proposed and considered. None ever has been found satisfactory by a consensus of the interested parties. This book was published in 1960, and in 1960, people already knew that Nigeria is unnatural, that the unity of Nigeria is unnatural, that Nigeria is a construct. It doesn't exist. Today, ladies and gentlemen, Nigeria is dead and buried. Now, what is Nigeria's fundamental problem? Because a lot of our people don't understand what Nigeria's fundamental problem is. Some call themselves intellectuals, people like Shuwere, people like Aisha, Yusuf. They believe that leadership, even Dele Momodu, they believe that leadership or corruption are Nigeria's fundamental problems. Those are not Nigeria's fundamental problem. Nigeria's fundamental problem has to be the problem of incomplete decolonization, a problem that's further compounded by the parasitic unity system and the 1999 military decree, misnomer constitution that legitimizes it. So Nigeria's fundamental problem has nothing to do with leadership. And let me tell you why. In the 50s, Malaya, under Tukon Abdurrahman and Singapore, decided to come together as one nation. If you remember, Lee Kuan Yew, the great astute statesman, one of the best ever, was the prime minister, the premier of Singapore. He could not perform when Malaysia was one entity, one country. Why? Because racial strifes, political unrest, economic issues, there are all these issues that emanated from that unnaturalness. So and the nationalists we're talking about is that the people of Singapore are just totally, completely different in their outlook, in their economic outlook, in their racial outlook, in everything. They are different from the people of Malaya. So not until when the two countries separated, and now you have Malaysia proper, which is a peninsula, and then you have Singapore, an island. An island, the size, I read something today, Singapore is probably 20% the size of Lagos. But economically, Lagos is 10% the size of Singapore. Can you imagine that? Singapore is a city-state, but economically, it's probably 90% larger than Lagos. And it's only maybe 20% the size of Lagos. So it was when Singapore separated, when Malaysia separated, that Lee Kuan Yew was able to perform in Singapore, and also Tukon Rahman was able to perform in Malaysia. Both of them were great statesmen, and they performed when the country separated. If Awolowo had governed a separate Yoruba nation will have been one of the best nations on the planet today. Even on that regional system, Yoruba nation was still one of the best regions in Nigeria, in Africa. So imagine if he had the chance, the opportunity to govern as the Yoruba nation president, we would not be in the position we're in today. So now, we understand now that Nigeria's fundamental problem has nothing to do with leadership, and it has nothing to do with corruption. Corruption abounds in all the nations of the world, and leadership cannot be Nigeria's fundamental problem because you can only be a leader for 4 to 8 years. So what happens after that? So let's say Obama came to Nigeria and ruled Nigeria for 8 years. Okay, he will perform wonders, stabilize everything, and then he will leave. Someone like El-Rufai will become the president. What do you think is going to happen? El-Rufai is probably the most dangerous Fullah Muhammadan on the planet. He's way worse than Buhari. He's going to destroy everything. And think about it. Just imagine El-Rufai becoming the president of Nigeria, which he suddenly could, or he might be in the future, right? So just think about it for a minute. It's scary. Now, when you look at under the regional system, right? Because when we talk about problems, we understand the problem is a problem of incomplete decolonization, a problem further compounded by the parasitic unit system and the 1999 military decree that sustains it, right? That's the fundamental problem. Now, what is the solution? What is the fundamental solution? The people have profiled two fundamental solutions. One, regional autonomy, and two, total balkanization of Nigeria, which is de-amalgamation. Don't get me wrong. We, as Yoruba nationalists, we embrace the latter rather than the former. We are not in support of regional autonomy. We've practiced it, it failed woefully. Why did it fail? It failed because it was not optimized. What is optimization? Optimization is when the regional system, one nation, many regions, when it was created, each region did not have its own standing army. Each region did not have its own security regime. Now, a group of ambitious military junta came and they truncated the system. And since that time, Nigeria ceased to exist. People just don't understand it because that was a federation that was negotiated. That was a federation that was under a constitution that was ratified by representatives elected by people from different, all the different regions. But since that time, for example, take for example the 1999 Constitution. The Constitution is a social contract. That means it has to be ratified. That means that there have to be signatories. But when you look at the 1999 so-called Constitution, it was not ratified, so it's a fraudulent constitution. So how can you, in good faith, now ask people to go and vote in an election that's premised on a fraudulent constitution? Ladies and gentlemen, a constitution sets the metes and bounds of a federation. The Nigerian so-called federation have been established. The 36 federating units have been established before the constitution was written. That is a total violation of the sequential order in the evolution of a nation state. You have to have written the constitution before you establish your federation. What am I talking about? In 1999, there shouldn't have been any federation in Nigeria in 1999. Because in 1999, that federation, the 36 federating units should have been, dissolved in 1999. And the people, based on their representatives, should have said, okay, this is the kind of federation we want. And that should have been spelled out in the constitution, stating we want probably 20 provinces or maybe a regional system or something like that. But we did not have the chance to do that in 1999. And that is why we called the 1999 Constitution a military decree, because it was imposed on the people. It violates what Constitution stands for. A Constitution is a social contract. It has to be ratified, but nobody ratified that Constitution. And that is why we will never agree to that Constitution. And that is why we always say Nigerian Federation is fraudulent and the Constitution is also fraudulent. So you'll be crazy to participate in any election that's premised on the same fraudulent Constitution. You'll be crazy. If you look at former Soviet Union, right? It went through kind of like the same problem Nigeria went through: over centralization, economic collapse. What happened? The Poland was the first country to pull out of the Soviet Union. The Polish did not participate in elections to get their freedom. What did they do? They engaged in mass protests, election boycotts, rallies. That is what they did. They did not, because there are people that said we should vote for Tinubu because Tinubu, being a Yoruba man, if he gets to power, he's going to give us what we want, which is Yoruba nation. That's a lie. You cannot truncate a system that was put together through an undemocratic means and truncate it using a democratic process. It's impossible. Nigerian Federation was put together, and the Constitution, was put together through an undemocratic process. And you cannot truncate the same system using a democratic process. It's impossible. So Tinubu cannot do anything for us. What we need to do is what the Polish people did in 1989, which is they pulled out completely of the Soviet Union. And the reason why they did that, because the Soviet Union was too centralized, and corruption. What else? And then economic collapse. So they couldn't take it anymore, and they pulled out. They did not participate in the Soviet Union elections. They jettisoned the Soviet Union completely. They engaged in rallies, mass demonstrations, protests, and that is what a true nationalist ought to do. We do not participate in elections. In Nigerian election, we do not participate because we know it's fraudulent. How do we get to this point? We got to this point when I'm just going to take you guys through some historical journey right now. The Ottoman Turks invaded Constantinople. They blockaded the Red Sea and the Mediterranean Sea. In Spain, something else was going on. The Moors were the rulers of Spain. The Castilians came back to power. They usurped the Moorish civilization in Spain. The Moors, they retreated into the interior of Africa via Mauritania. They came into Mali. There was a civilization in Mali then called the Malian civilization that was usurped, and Songhai, imperial state was imposed, which is Songhai civilization was imposed. The Fula Muhammadans and a group of people called and the Moors, they worked together and they started destroying the traditional African civilizations in the Sahel and West Africa, starting from Borno, Hausa states, and the imperial state of Oyo. The Moors and the Fula worked together to do that damage. It's against that backdrop that the Europeans came into Africa. If you notice, when you go into the archives, you will see that most of the slaves that were captured prior to 1800s were not Yoruba-speaking people. Why? Because we had an imperial state of Oyo that protected us from invasions and from our people being enslaved. It was after the fall of Oyo that most of our people were enslaved. That is why when you go to South America today, people still have their Yoruba, they still retain that memory, because it's not Yoruba were probably the last people to be enslaved in the Americas. So it's not uncommon to go to places like Cuba, Brazil, and see Yorubas, people that have not been to Yoruba land in maybe 250 years, and they speak Yoruba. They practice Ifa, they practice Isheshi and all this other stuff. Now, so that weakened the Yoruba state. What I've just taken you through, the fall of the Moorish rule in Spain, the Ottoman Turks' invasion of Constantinople. So when the Castilians came back to power, and the Turks, they had blocked the Mediterranean Sea, the Castilians were looking for an alternate route to Asia so that they could trade with the Indians and the Chinese. They couldn't find it because they couldn't go through the Red Sea to the Indian Ocean. So they had to look for an alternate route. It's that alternate route that Columbus was looking for, that he went through the west coast of Africa, landing in South America, and the rest is history. And that led to our people being captured and sold as slaves in the Americas. Now, the Berlin Conference took place, I believe, in 1884. The man that put that Berlin Conference together was Otto von Bismarck. He was the chair of the Berlin Conference. The Berlin Conference sealed the fate of Africans. It's in Berlin Conference that all the African states you see today were created. Now, Otto von Bismarck was the one that engineered. He was the one that introduced the ethno-linguistic homogeneous model to Germany, to Western Europe. What is an ethno-linguistic homogeneous model? It simply means nations are built on specific fundamentals: commonality of language, commonality of culture, commonality of customary law, commonality of philosophy, moral, spiritual, and natural philosophy. That is what you build nations on. And that is the ethno-linguistic homogeneous model. People that have common language, common culture, and common philosophy, and common spiritual philosophy should occupy the same land. Right? So that is what Otto von Bismarck introduced to Western Europe. But what did they do in Africa? They introduced the opposite in Africa, which is the heterogeneous model, ethno-linguistic heterogeneous model. That was what they introduced to Africa, and it's a setup. That is why today you will never find an African state or nation state in Africa, because all of these nations were created by Europeans. And that is why we nationalists, we want our own nation. Let's look at Nigeria. Nigeria, the name Nigeria was coined by a British lady. Nigeria was amalgamated by a British man. Nigeria's official language is British English. Nigeria's customary law is British common law. Nigeria's central banking system was created by the British. Nigeria's capital market is controlled by the British, and Nigeria's crude oil today is refined in Britain. So Nigeria is nothing but British slave plantation. But unfortunately, Yoruba people, we are under Nigeria. And that is why we, the true nationalists, we want out of this mess. We know Nigeria is dead and buried. The only, I've always told people that what you can expect from Nigeria is death, devastation, and destruction. If we continue to be inside one Nigeria, that will be the death of Yoruba people. It will be the death of Yoruba language. It will be the death of Yoruba culture. It will be the death of Yoruba moral philosophy, spiritual philosophy, and natural philosophy. So to prevent that from happening is why we nationalists are raising up and we say, no going back. We want our nation and we will get it. Ladies and gentlemen, Nigeria will regress completely into barbarism before any man of God can make it into a nation. Nigeria is not a nation. A nation is a collection of people that speak the same language, they have the same descent, they have the same culture. Now, don't get me wrong, and I want to say this to pan-Africanists. The ethno-linguistic homogeneous model that I've proposed is not incompatible with multiculturalism or multi-ethnicity. What am I saying? Does it mean if we get Yoruba nation today, does it mean that we're going to kick the Igbo people that already live amongst us out? Does it mean we're going to kick the Hausa people out or even Indians out? No, it doesn't mean that. What it means is a nation dominated by Yoruba people, a nation dominated by Yoruba culture, a nation based, the medium of instruction in Yoruba nation will be Yoruba. That is what we're talking about. So the Yoruba people will be the dominant ethno-linguistic group in Yoruba nation. Now, people love to compare Nigeria to United States. Nigeria is not United States. First of all, United States has a federation, a true federation. United States has a constitution that's ratified. Now, United States has a dominant racial group. Of course, United States is a multiracial nation, and it has a dominant racial group, the whites. It has a dominant language, English, right? It has a dominant culture, which is Judeo-Christian culture. Does Nigeria have all these things? No. There are three main dominant groups, ethno-linguistic groups in Nigeria. We have the Yoruba, we have the Igbo people, and then we have the Hausa Fulani, right? So these three dominant groups are vying, are competing among themselves for resources, for economic growth, for everything. So, and that is why Nigeria will never work, because that is not the way you build a nation. Now, there are people that said, and it is true, that not all ethno-linguistic homogeneous nation states are stable, progressive, and powerful. But nearly all stable, progressive, and powerful nation states are ethno-linguistic homogeneous. Look at Western Europe. Look at Western Europe, because there are people that will tell us, oh, what about Somalia? Somalia is ethno-linguistic homogeneous, but it's not stable, it's not progressive, and it's not powerful. That is true. But Somalia is an outlier. This crazy one Nigerian brigade or one Nigerianese, they love to put a set together. They will create a set. And then out of the set, they will use the behavior of outlier to generalize the behavior of the set. Why are you using Somalia? Why are you not using Germany? Why are you not using Spain? Why are you not using Norway? Why are you not using Sweden? They belong to the same set because those are ethno-linguistic homogeneous nation states, and they are progressive, they are stable, and they are powerful. So don't use outliers to generalize the behavior of the set. Use the majority of the information in the set to generalize the behavior of the set. And to those people that tell us that, okay, if we were to have Yoruba nation today, the same thieves, the same criminals that have ruined Nigeria, we will inherit those people in Yoruba land, people like Tifnubu and all these other crazy people. And to them we say, the Yoruba Nation Federation will be totally different from the Nigerian Federation. So their argument is what I call impermissible counterfactual argument. It won't fly. It doesn't make any sense. You haven't tried Yoruba Nation. What we know, when we under the regional system, that Awolowo was a premier of the Yoruba region. We were progressive. We were the Yoruba Nation was stable. Our people had a high standard of living. But today, what happened under the centralized unity system? All of that is gone. So we've lost everything. So now that's why we nationally are saying we want out. We don't want to be part of this contraption. It's a slave plantation. Why would any right-thinking Black person on this planet want to be in a nation or a contraption where you speak someone else's language? The Japanese, they speak their language, Japanese. The Chinese, the same thing. The Germans, the same thing. When you look at all the powerful, all the stable, all the progressive nations on this planet, they have one thing in common, which is all these nations are built on specific fundamentals: commonality of language, culture, customary law, and philosophy. So why do we as Black people think we can do the opposite and still be progressive, powerful, and stable? It's not going to happen. We cannot do it. So we have to build our nations as other civilized people around the world. And this is why we said you have to think Yoruba first. Thinking Yoruba first is not just a sexy slogan. It has to do with embracing everything that's Yoruba unconditionally. You have to embrace Yoruba language and promote Yoruba language. You have to embrace Yoruba culture and promote Yoruba culture. You have to embrace Yoruba customary law and then embrace Yoruba customary law. You have to embrace Yoruba philosophy and promote Yoruba philosophy. Ladies and gentlemen, our language is a form of capital. Our culture is a form of capital. Our philosophy is a form of capital. Even our myth, our mythology is a form of capital. That is what people don't understand. When people say, well, leadership is Nigeria's fundamental problem, that if we were to have a good leader, Nigeria would change. And I tell them, no, because the fundamental issue is still there. Even if you had a good leader will only be there for 4 to 8 years. And what happens after that? Whatever growth that you make while you have a good leader is not sustainable. It's not sustainable. You have to look in the long term, in the medium and long run. If you want Nigeria to be to be sustainable, if you want Nigeria to grow, what you need to do, you have to de-amalgamate Nigeria along ethno-linguistic lines, so that Yoruba nation can trade with Igbo nation. Igbo nation can trade with Hausa nation or Arewa nation. All these disparate ethnic nations within the Nigerian space can now trade with each other. Today, they're fighting each other because they're competing destructively. But if you de-amalgamate Nigeria today, then they can compete productively. That is the only way you can do it. De-amalgamate Nigeria so that the people can be free. That is the only way we can have freedom. People are dying. You have Fula terrorists terrorizing our people, and these people are being sponsored by Western elements, by Arab elements. Before now, the world order used to be Western countries sponsoring coups to destabilize African nations. Today, they moved to something totally different. They now sponsor Wahhabists and Salafists all across West Africa, or I should even say Africa, to destabilize African states. That is the new order. Western elements and Arab elements, countries, imperialists, sponsoring Salafists and Wahhabists, training them and using them to destabilize African states or nation states. That is where we are. So we have to understand what is going on. The Fula issue that we have in Nigeria is not restricted to Nigeria. It's all across West Africa. They want to create a caliphate. And if we don't take Yoruba nation out of Nigeria, we are doomed. The only way we can survive this onslaught, if we have a Yoruba nation with its own standing army. That is the only way we can stand up to these people. If we don't create a Yoruba nation with its own standing army, we are doomed forever. We are doomed forever. So if you're a true nationalist, I implore you vehemently to come together, use whatever within your power to liberate your people from this onslaught. If it's your intellect, if it's your money, if it's both, use it to liberate your people from this onslaught, because Yoruba land will be taken by this janjaweed if we don't take Yoruba land out of Nigeria. And I round up by saying, again, that Nigeria that you see today will regress completely into barbarism before any man or God can make it into one nation. Look around you. It's already happening. Thank you for having me.
Let's go on.
Sorry, am I audible? Hello? Hello?
Yes, you are.
All right. Yeah, thank you very much, Egboin Fadari. Guys, sorry, we are actually witnessing some network issues. So that's the reason why we can't bring anybody on stage, but we are still trying to look into it. Unfortunately, Twitter is not like Clubhouse, so a lot of us are used to Clubhouse. Thank you very much for the wonderful submission, Egbo Fadari, and we do hope that a lot of our people are listening, not just for the sake of just listening, but then they are going to pause for a minute to think about all of this. The Yoruba language is key to whatever philosophy or science or technology that we are thinking about. It's the only thing, that can, take us away from this madness, we are witnessing, called the Nigerian evil system. Ayo, you're actually very, very lucky to be on stage, because for some weird reasons we can't bring people on stage. So Ayo, do you have a question or you have a submission?
Please give me a minute. I'll be with you shortly. Just give me a minute, please.
All right, no worries. I'll ask Aare Kurunmi and Egbo Fadari one question each. This is a question that I am being asked every day. And the first question for Aare Kurunmi is that people tell us, how should the Yoruba people get a Yoruba nation? Some even often say that there is no country that has split, and that these countries are doing wonderfully well. So that's my question for you, Aare Kurunmi. Aare Kurunmi, are you there? All right. Ifadari, Egbon, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yes.
All right. Would you like to take over the question?
Can you repeat the question again?
Yeah. The most one of the most questions I get is people always ask, how do we think we're going to get this Yoruba nation? And that oftentimes a lot of countries that have split, are actually not doing good. Yeah.
Well, I mean, one of the ways we're going to get Yoruba nation is not participating in anything that has to do with Nigeria. Be it Nigeria's election, anything anything that has to do with Nigeria, we don't participate in it. Our participation in that in Nigeria, a fraudulent state with a fraudulent constitution and a fraudulent federation, is why it still exists. If we pull away from it completely, if you take the kind of approach that Baba IGBOHO has, which is that do not participate in anything that has to do with Nigeria, then Nigeria will cease to exist. Again, Professor Akitoye says Yoruba nation is not the best option. It's the only option. If you cannot think that way, then you will not get Yoruba nation, because Yoruba nation is the only option for us. It's not the best. It's the only option. So we have to keep campaigning. We have to keep doing rallies. We have to keep campaigning around the world, sponsoring ads, creating awareness, because that is what we're doing now. Some people will say, well, how long are you going to do that? For as long as we can do it. One thing we're not going to do, we're not going to participate in anything that has to do with Nigeria, be it elections or whatever it is. We're not going to participate in it. True nationalists will never participate in anything that has to do with Nigeria. Now, to countries that are split are not progressive, that's a lie. I made mention of Malaysia. When Malaysia split into two, today you have Malaysia proper and then you have Singapore. They used to be one nation. And Lee Kuan Yew was the premier of Singapore, and Tunku Abdul Rahman was the premier of Malaysia. They could not get along. I mean, Lee Kuan Yew was probably one of the best statement ever. Could not perform under one Malaysia. It was after they split into two that he was able to perform, and Tunku Abdul Rahman was able to perform in Malaysia. So we can use that as a case study. Also, when you go to former Soviet Union, it was a dead weight. You have people that believe in the Brezhnev doctrine, which is that over centralization, corruption, and all this other stuff. And it was when Gorbachev came into power and introduced the Sinatra doctrine, which is, regional autonomy, so to speak. And that was what created the impetus for Polish nationalists to pull away from former Soviet Union. They did not pull away by participating in any elections guaranteed by the Soviet government. They pull away by protesting, by organizing rallies, by boycotting elections in former Soviet Union. That's how they were able to get their freedom. Now, if you go to India and Pakistan, they used to be one nation. Now, India is progressive. Pakistan is okay. It has its own, personal issues. But certainly, India today is more progressive than when it was together with Pakistan. If you go to South America, you have Gran Colombia. Today, you have Colombia proper. You have Panama. You have all these other countries that broke away from Gran Colombia. They're doing pretty well. So this idea that when countries split, they don't do well, that's preposterous. It's not true. Because what people need to understand, and I keep rehashing this, ethno-linguistic homogeneous model is the ideal model of a nation state. Nations that are built on specific fundamentals, commonality of language, commonality of culture, commonality of customary law, commonality of philosophy, moral, spiritual, and natural philosophies. Those nations stand a chance of being progressive, stable, and powerful. Look at Western Europe. That's how you organize nations. That's how you build nations. You don't build nations by just putting all these different countries together into one. No, it's never going to work. I'm in support of some sort of confederation, which is the model that you have. I call it the EU model, where you have all these, ethno-linguistic homogeneous nation states. They came together in a confederation and they form alliance. They form military alliance, economic alliance, and some sort of political alliance. But each state still retains its full sovereignty. Spain is part of the EU, but Spain has its own sovereignty. It has its own standing army. It has everything. It retains its full sovereignty. So, and that is what we're saying in Nigeria. De-amalgamate Nigeria along ethno-linguistic lines. And maybe in the future, we can form a confederation. If the Yoruba people decide they get along with Igbo people, we can form a confederation with them. But we have our full sovereignty, right? So we form a confederation where we have some sort of economic alliance, some sort of political alliance, and military alliance. We can do it. I mean, it's been done in Western Europe using the EU model. So we can do same. So it is not true that when countries split, they are not powerful, stable, and progressive. That's a lie. Thank you.
Can I add to this?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think the problem with most of these educated illiterates, and I do call them, or moral softs, is that they want to leave the job they should do for the next generation. I mean, you get to see that rather than engage in ideologies and talk about real issues, they tend to talk about individual characteristics, materialism, and probably much of all this distraction, more like BBN or whatever. And the funny thing is that most of these people that give them inspiration as motivational speakers, somebody like Timi Dakolo now, his family has relocated to the UK. He sang about a great nation. And I think most of them, they don't connect the dots. They want to leave the job for the next generation. That's just it. And we, as the people that have identified the problem, rather than we extend the days of doom to the next generation, who, by virtue of the reality by then, will cause us or swear for us. They keep saying this in order to distract us. They know Nigeria's problem, but we need to put into context that our people have been conquered in the mind. And the best way to deal with people not to have their liberation, you don't even need guns. Just there's something they call psychological system, psychosis also, psycho-OS also. You just program the people, weaponize media campaign on kind of unity and diversity, and all this nonsense choice of words.
So it's not like if people continue, they keep using Sudan as a case study, and they forget to understand that Sudan in itself, the amalgamation of Sudan into South and North was only precipitated by the by the West, because of the fact that they saw that the northern Sudan, the Sudanese in the north, were one or two way in support of Mohammed Gaddafi. So, you will never get anything you want from maybe the East or the West if you are not going to put something down. And even after they did that, they still made sure that conflict is not settled. That conflict in the South, that one group now is dominating the other. And this is why I used to tell people, when you are talking about Nigeria means different things to different people. You get to see that somebody like Dom Kabali, one of the prominent military men then, he was talking about how if his own ethnic group was left alone, they will be consumed by the Fulanis. He's online. So it is also better for them to, it is better for them to see a bigger Nigeria so that they'll be protected. So at all costs, to whom much is given, much is expected. You have to fight for your freedom. Whoever wants to be in Nigeria, let them be. It's none of your business. You are a Yoruba person. You don't have any business dictating to the Igbo. Maybe they should have Biafra or not. You don't have any business dictating to Ijos or Agi people or these people in the middle belt, the Junkos or the thieves, the Tangali. You don't have any business. You have to do your own job. Excuse yourself, and then whoever wants it. Because Nigeria means different things to different people. Some people, their existence in Nigeria is to exploit. Some people in Nigeria, their existence in Nigeria is to keep. And unfortunately, it's a journey in futility. Particularly the minority groups, most of them are the one championing one Nigeria. And the educated illiterates among us in the South, who I call miseducated liberals, they don't understand that as much as you are liberal, you have to be conservative. There's always limitations for things. They just want to be liberal. They talk about humanity, they talk about human rights, and they don't even get the concept. Those who talk about liberalism and human rights, they come to your home country to sponsor coup. They come to most of your African countries to sponsor people who are always in position of power for more than 30 years. Somebody like Biya is always supported by French and Belgium and all these Western countries. But, they don't practice that in their country. So, make it make sense. Most of these French sitting countries, look at Uganda. Museveni has been there for long. And when those people start acting other way around against them, then they weaponize human rights and democracy against those people. So we must understand that we can't continue to be confused. We can't continue to confuse ourselves with the terminologies of people that want us to go into extinction. I have always been advocating for more than 3 years now that I think it is a fundamental problem. Something must be hanging on people's brain, not to understand that a people of more than 50 million cannot educate their new generation in their language. In fact, let me even tell people something, that the reason why our people don't understand and don't connect the dots is because they had colonial education. And that colonial education is a kind of education programmed, reinstated to program our people into protecting the interests of our enemies. You had a Western education, which I call colonial education. So when you want to make analysis and want to talk, rather than you talking for the interests of your people, you'll be talking from the position of arrogance and position of ignorance in order to protect the interests of the people that gave you education. So you now start insulting your ancestors that, they were uneducated people, they were savages, they were barbarians. Not forgetting the fact that civilization and development in the societies transform from a certain degree to the other. You had the Stone Age, you had the whatever age before you had the Industrial Revolution. In fact, it will shock you that most of this Eastern Bloc, most of this Japan, Korea, South Korea, and all these countries, all these Qatar, what they did was that they modernized. But what they didn't do was they never westernize. So the problem with our people is that as much as there's a conflicting understanding between modernity and westernization, right? So modernization simply talks about you building based on the fundamentals of your moral philosophy, the way you see the world, you now build it in a modern way, right? Most of the Eastern Bloc, they are using phones, they are using a lot of things, they are using internet, they modernized. But that westernization, the mistake our people keep making is that they think they can modernize and westernize at the same time. And that's a total fallacy. What Yoruba people should do is that we can modernize and Yorubanize, right? And I did coin a kind of terminology last year, which I gave out to most of the people here, the concept of Yorubanism and pan-Yorubanism, like the idea that we need to educate our kids, our new generation in our language so that they'll be more sympathetic to the Yoruba cause. You see, when people speak in English, right, they speak from the position of arrogance, thinking that those other people, they don't understand English like them. They are superior to them. They have a colonial, unconsciously, if you look at somebody that tries to be politically correct, right, they speak from position of arrogance. They don't want to understand. They don't give a damn about whatever you are saying. What they want to say is that they just want to keep the status quo from the position of arrogance, protecting the interests of the colonial identity. So they talk to people. That's why you see people, when people don't speak good English, they start insulting them. It's an idea imposed by a colonial reality. And until we stop this madness, we only have a population of maybe little percentage of middle class and some elites in the upper class who continue to exploit people, and you have servitudes and poor people in their millions, maybe in 85% or 90%. So until we understand this concept that the more you embrace your Yorubanism, the more sympathetic you would be to the Yoruba race. Because truth be told, right, we are not alive to the survival of other people. We must be clear on that. So don't let anybody deceive you with the narrative of humanity. We knew what the West did when there was COVID. Canada bought all the COVID vaccine. They bought it out. They didn't remember maybe years. In fact, they even told you that.
Riwaju?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah, I had an issue with. Can you quickly round up so that because yeah.
So again, they bought all the COVID-19 vaccines. They never remember maybe anybody existed in Africa. In fact, they even threatened us that most people in Africa would die. So when people choose to use narratives and words like humanity and human rights or democracy, they choose to use it when they want to seek your sympathy. But our people forget. You tend to see our people shouting that they are global citizens. See, you have no right to other people's life, or you have no right to other people's land. You are not a global citizen. It is because of the position of servitude and economic deficiency. That is why you always think that the best way to survive and live in this world is by traveling to other people's country to excel. Is a position of servitude, and we must understand it. Until we embrace our true identity and stop using words like tribalism. I mean, you people need to be educated in Yoruba. Maybe we would even have same people around us so that we would understand what we are talking about and stop speaking big grammars. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Femi, are you there? Yeah, I lost my connection. That was why I couldn't take the question, but I've been able to find my way back. Please, can you still continue to moderate so that we quickly round up in 1 hour so that other people, a lot of speakers are on stage. And I also received back channel. Please, can you unmute, Femi? A lot of people also messaged me in the back channel that they are being kicked out. Please, I don't think any of the hosts we dare do that. We don't do that here. And if that is happening because of the internet, please, sincere apologies to all the comrades. all the comrades that one way or the other, due to technical issues, you are not able to participate. We sincerely apologize. And I want to sincerely thank my fellow comrade, KOIKIMEDIA. Thank you for your presence here. Really appreciate it. We appreciate what you do every day. Aluta continua, Victoria Asata. Femi, do you want to moderate so that people can also ask questions? We have a lot. Jara is here. Mika is here, Oba is here, Malcolm is here. A lot of people also want to ask questions, and so that we can make it more interactive. Akikanju is also here. So thank you. And let's time people so that it can be very, very educative, very, very enlightening, and very, very concise. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Aare. Just like you mentioned, right? We've been having technical issues, and I think I've been explaining to everybody, so nobody was kicked out. But guys, if you know we are having an intellectual conversation, tweet about this room. Use the hashtag Think Yoruba First. If you are not using our main handle. If you're not following our main handle, do so. Think Yoruba First. Jara, I noticed you were trying to come up. I did accept the request, but I can't still see you up. So we are having technical difficulties. Anyways, yeah, I can remember how people came on stage. Ayo, are you ready to go now? Ayo. All right. If Ayo is busy, then I will go to Emeka. Emeka, are you there? Emeka, are you there? Yes. Can you hear me?
I wanted to wait over and ask. I just wanted some people to go so I can ask some questions. I'm kind of I'm indisposed, but I'll come back maybe in 3 minutes or so.
All right. I'll take someone else then. Oba, Ekabo, Shalafialewa. Oba, are you there? Oba Shewambe. All right. I can't hear Oba. Maybe you should try to unmute. Anyway, since Oba is busy, Egbanki Konjo, I see you. Let me just go to Malcolm. Malcolm, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Am I audible, please?
Yes, please go on, please.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I'll just start by saying, I think the first thing we miss in this conversation is that or should I say, the first thing that Nigerians are missing is that it wasn't created to be a country. Nigeria is a plantation right from creation. It was created for exploitation. So no matter how we try to sweet talk it, no matter how people try to sugarcoat it, it will always be a plantation, and that is what we are having today. And if we look back in history, we used to have the house and the field Negroes. I think the ruling class today are the house Negroes, the neglected people, the ethnic people, the original people of the land. We are the field Negroes. I think until we realize this fact, we accept it, that is then we can move forward. We need to look at what happened to those plantations back then. And I think that is the best.
Can you speak up a little bit, Malcolm X? Can you speak up? Increase the volume of your program. Can you speak up a little bit?
Yeah, am I audible now, please?
It's better a little bit. And quickly round up in maybe 2 minutes.
Okay. What I was trying to say is that we still have the same situation the house and the field Negroes used to have back then. And I think the best approach to actualizing our ethnic nations is to look back to what those field Negroes did then. And if we apply them to our situations today, I feel we are going to get greater results. That's just my submission.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Mr. Femi, are you there? I keep on calling you so that I can know you are here. And I want to please, because we want a lot of people to speak. Akikoju, please quickly grab the mic. There's a lot of people trying to request, and we are trying to ensure if you're on stage and you're not talking, or you finish speaking, kindly go back to the audience so that a lot of people can also come up stage. It has to be interactive. And when you want to speak, make sure you are very, very audible so that we can, because a lot of different platforms they're also listening from different platforms. Please, we beg you, let's speak like nationalists. Let them see the fire in our voice. Let them feel the fire in our emotions, because we are trying to ginger our people. We are trying to be the source of inspiration. So, Aki, can you please grab the mic? 3 minutes, please. I'm sorry. So, because we are a little bit behind schedule.
All right, thank you. Am I audible enough?
Very, very, as usual, my brother. Ever powerful, ever audible.
Thank you. I came here with a message to people who might not understand the very basis of why someone like me is fighting for a sovereign nation you call Yoruba. We want to call Yoruba nation. Either it is that name or whatever other name, it doesn't matter. But the identity is the people you call Yoruba people today. So, this is my answer to this very topic. I don't care about 2023 elections because it's a circle of the same repetition that has put us in a consistent decline till this very day. But so the question anybody would ask me, so why am I fighting? 2 reasons. 1, the mandate is my blood. My blood determines the reason why I'm fighting. The blood in my veins determines why I'm fighting for it, because I'm thinking of 50 years of the future of my unborn generation. I don't want them to be in perpetual slavery that many of us are ignorant till today. We are not ready to get out of, even when we know the obvious truth. What is happening in Nigeria presently that you people call insecurity, which is not the basis of what I'm really, the major reason I'm fighting for a Yoruba nation, is happening in Togo, is happening in Mali. So it's war with some people, and many of us are there sleeping. So you asked, what is the reason why I'm fighting for a Yoruba nation? My language. We speak different language, dialects in the Yoruba nations, in the Yoruba kingdoms that are there, but yet we all speak the same, it has the same tonal, whatever. But this is what I'm going to read to you, and that would be my basis of my submission. Maybe that will help to inspire a provoking thoughts in so many people. I'm going to be reading from a book of one of my favorite authors called Ogugi Wationgo. He's an African author who today writes in his own languages, which is, I've forgotten the language they call it. So this is what I'm reading. Values are basis of people's identity, their sense of particularity as members of the human race. All this is carried by language. Language as culture is the collective memory bank of people's experience in history. Culture is almost indistinguishable from the language that makes possible its genesis, growth, banking, articulation, and indeed its transmission from one generation to the next. Language as a culture also has 3 important aspects. Culture is a product of history, which in turn reflects. Culture, in other words, is a product and a reflection of human beings communicating with one another in the very struggle to create wealth and to control it. But culture does not merely reflect that history, or rather, it does by actually forming images or pictures of the world of nature and nurture. Thus, the second aspect of language is, as culture is an image-forming agent in the mind of a child. Our whole conception of ourselves as a people, individually and collectively, is based on those pictures and images which may or may not correctly correspond to the actual reality of the struggles with nature and nurture, which produced them in the first place. But our capacity dependent on how those images correspond or not to that reality, how they distort or clarify the reality of our struggles. Language as culture is thus mediating between me and my own self, between my own self and other selves, between me and nature. Language is mediating in my very being. And this brings us to the third aspect of language as culture. Culture transmits or imparts those images of the world and reality through the spoken and the written languages. That is true a specific language. In other words, the capacity to speak, the capacity to utter sounds in a manner that makes for mutual comprehension between human beings is universal. This is the universality of language, a quality specific to human beings. It corresponds to the universality of the struggle against nature and that between human beings. Why did I read this to the ears of everybody? It's because we don't understand that we are living in falsehood. We celebrate mediocrity. We celebrate a life of weakness. Nobody is greater than me. The more I bear English names, the more I bear an identity that is not mine. Many of you have been told Esau is your ancestor, and Esau is a black man. He sold his birthright. Thus, the reason why you are suffering today. Open your head. Open your head. The history that has been sold to you, that has been told to you, whichever way you have read it, is false. Find out who you are. Learn to know the fourth generation of your ancestor and stop knowing people that are foreign to you. It's only in Africa that all of us know everything foreign, but nothing but ourselves. So I fight for a Yoruba nation because in that nation, I will thrive. My child can conceptualize in his or her own language and build a great civilization that was once before and will be again. I rest my case. Thank you.
Mr. Femi, please.
Aare, please help me kindly take over, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Kikanju. We welcome you into the platform of Think Yoruba First. This is Aare Kurunmi Kakanfo. I'm the president of Think Yoruba First organization, a pan-Yoruba organization that wants to seek a permanent homeland for all Yorubas across the world. We believe in the Yoruba identity. If you call us a tribalist, we don't care. Because tribalists are people that care for their people. They are people who seek the interests of their people first and last. The Germans think about the German interests first, and they are also tribes. The French think about the French interests first, and they are also tribes. The English seek about the interests of the English first, and they are also tribes. The Spanish do the same. The Hungarians think about the interests of the Hungarians first, and they are also tribes. Why shouldn't I, a Yoruba man, a descendant of those who built one of the greatest civilizations on earth, not think about the interests of my people first and last? And we've seen it for the past 60 years, and since the coming of the colonial hooligans, the British imperialists, they've continually destroyed the people, they've continually destroyed the civilization of the Yoruba people. That is why we need to embrace Yoruba nationalism, full-blown, without any apologies. Our homeland must not become a settler colony, and our homeland must be protected for the coming generation. Jara is here. Jara, grab the mic. My brother, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. I've been patiently listening to one of the most educative spaces on this on Twitter. I said most educative space because this is the space that can save your lives and the lives of your children and your children's children. One thing I've found that is missing amongst Yoruba people is the education, which this kind of space provides. If we have this kind of space, it will make you realize where you are. Because the truth of the matter is, many people do not realize their own problem. And because they don't know their problem, how can they then find solution to it? They're in their 20s, they're in their 30s. They were born into Nigeria. They were fed into Nigeria. They were fed by Nigeria. They were fed all sorts of narratives that the children of the colonial masters, the slave drivers of Nigeria, the slave masters of Nigeria, had fed them the narrative they want them to know. So if they're not seeing beyond Peter Obi in 2023, you should begin to understand them. So they need to be shocked. There has got to be something that will shock their system before they realize and begin to think, hold on a minute, why is this happening to me? This is against what I believe. I mean, many people voted or believed in Buhari in 2015. In 2019, they did the same thing again. This 2023, these people are going to vote APC again. They're still going to support APC again. I mean, what do you call that? That is somebody who is intentionally showering himself with hot coal. That's the best illustration I can give to it. But this kind of group needs to exist for this educative purpose, so that when it gets to a point, they can always refer to it and say, "This is it." And for those who keep asking, "How do you then listen? Tell me, how do you make this happen?" Listen. I don't want to hear. Tell me how to make it happen. Well, how do we make it happen? By opening your own brain. That's how we can make it happen. By opening your own brain, by realizing that propagating or preaching Tinubu is not the way forward, by you realizing that preaching Peter Obi for 2023 is not the way forward. That's how we can achieve this. Imagine if you call a Yoruba rally. We should have at least 1 million people on the street rallying. But if you are waiting for a group of people to go and do the work and come and hand it over to you, I'm sorry, my brother, you're on a long thing. So when you ask that question, ask yourself that question. How do I liberate myself? You need to educate yourself. Either you educate yourself by reading, by listening to spaces and people like this, or something shocks your system. I pray nothing shocks your system. I pray and hope that, by just reading and diligent studying and listening to people like this, you come to that realization. Because once something shocks your system, that thing is disaster. It's disastrous. It takes something away from you and the permanent. I do not wish that for you. So when you ask the question, how do we? How? By you liberating yourself, by you emancipating yourself, reading. Just get educated and realize that you are in an enslaved relationship with Nigeria. And if you've got children, that's what you're going to be fed. That's what you're going to feed to your children, and that's what your children will be fed. The same lies and propaganda that you are fed. You can only pass on what you have. You can't pass on what you don't have. And that's what you're going to pass on to your children and your children's children. Whereas you can be better. An average Nigerian now want to jackpot. Even those who are supporting all these evil leaders, yet you're still planning. If you have opportunity, you still want to jackpot, but yet you keep, supporting these evil people. When the reverse should be the case at this point, we should be planning to migrate back, because all of us are still second citizens abroad. We can't be living abroad. We are still second citizens. As a Yoruba man, I'm a first-class citizen. Why wouldn't that appeal to me? Why wouldn't that appeal to you? There is one popular woman who is a Tinubu. She was in America. Her children, schooled in America. Her children are Americans. Now she relocated to Nigeria. She went to stay in Abuja. Why can't you go back to your hometown? Why do you decide to go to Abuja if you're so serious about Nigeria? So it starts with us. That's all I can say to all the listeners. It starts with us, me and you. So that when we call a rally, we can have at least 1 million people who are genuinely convinced on the street. But if most of us are waiting and expecting Aare Kurunmi or Professor Akintoye or Sunday Igboho to go and do some magic and then come back and hand over those results to you, my brother, my sister, you are in a long thing. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jara. I keep on saying, anybody telling you that your PVC is going to be your Messiah come 2023, that I call it the gospel of the demons. I call it the gospel of Satanism. They are only going to destroy you. Nigeria does not need a Messiah. Nigeria has a dysfunctional system. And once it's have a dysfunctional system, if the foundation be destroyed, what can the righteous do? Demand to control your resources. Demand to control your seaports. Demand to control your space. Demand to control your police. And let me tell you this truth. For though the powers that be and the few that not, there is no difference between restructuring and secession. So those of you shouting restructuring, laughing at us, and those of us that are asking for Yoruba nation, we are going to be beaten with the same stick. So you have to understand this. There is no middle space. So we are going to the next. Thank you, Jera. So take your mind away from those nonsense panacea. That in the next 6 months your life is going to be better. It doesn't work that way. Nigeria was meant to destroy you. Anybody telling you forget about your tribe, forget about your identity, run away from them. They are asking you to self-destruct. That is the fundamental of genocide. Genocide is taking place within Nigeria. If you really love Africa, that Africa you love, your indigenous language should be used as a language of science and technology, even if your ethnic group is just 2 million. That you cannot use your language for science, for technology, for economy, because you've been trapped within Nigeria. You should be in tears. You should be in tears. We now have a generation that want to speak English than the Queen of England. We have a generation that want to speak phonetic than Donald Trump. They call their languages vernacular. And when some of us are saying, go to Luxembourg, go to Estonia, go to Finland, go to all these small countries, tribal countries in Europe that are at par, go to Japan, go to South Korea, powerful countries of the world. They use their indigenous language. Those are the people that will remain for the next 400 years. As for those of you that continually destroy your indigenous language, you are going to go extinct, and they will go and be paying money to watch you in the museum. That is what is going to happen to you. And we Yoruba nationalists, those of us that understand that we need to survive, we will do everything humanly possible to survive, with everything in our blood, to survive as a people. Nigeria does not guarantee our survival because it's a unitary system of government. It was created to create a melting pot. That's why some people want to call themselves Yoruba Fulani, Yoruba Igbo, Hausa Fulani, Hausa Igbo. Identity crisis, and I call it the Babelization of the Nigerian states, of the ethnicities within the Nigerian contraction, to destroy ethnic identity and create identity crisis. That was how they destroyed the indigenous people in America. That was how they destroyed Black Americans. They destroyed their ethnic identity. They changed their name. We are even doing it for free. We are changing Chukwudi is now becoming Boniface. Adegoke is now becoming Jedon. We don't even give our children fantastic name again. Names are ass meaning. Between names like Jedon and FOLAYEMI, which is more reasonable? But because you are damaged, you will openly and gladly destroy yourselves. Because that is what Nigeria wants you to do. Why do you think the NYSC pays you money when you intermarry and marry outside your ethnic nationality, where you go and do your NYSC? Because you are the definition of what Nigeria wants you to become. Destruction of who you are. Even the United Nations, as toothless as it is, they tell you they want to preserve diversity. They want to preserve language. They want to preserve culture. Is it when you become an endangered species and you're already in reservation ground before you know that you need to preserve who you are? That Yoruba identity that you have, some people paid blood. They used their blood and everything to preserve it. Some people died protecting that identity. And they created Nigeria, you carry that identity, take it into the dustbin, pour petrol on it, you set it on fire. Because you are no longer a Yoruba man. You are only Yoruba by language. How many of you listening to me around the world, can your children speak Yoruba fluently? You are in Australia, you are in France, you are in Germany, you are in England, you are in USA. How many of you? And you call yourself Yoruba people. You should all be ashamed of yourselves. That is the fundamental of self-determination. Go to any country on earth where you see the Chinese, they will speak Mandarin, even though they've never been to their homeland. Same thing as Russia. When we talk about Russia, Russia is an ethnic group. It's an ethnic identity. But you just want to be woke, you want to be stupid, you want to be foolish, you want to be silly. And you go to spaces where they lie to you, where they will not tell you the truth. We are here, we are the people that will make you flee, we are the people that will make you pee in your pants and make you think like a human being. Rise up from your sleep, brothers and sisters. Enough of this nonsense. How long are we going to continue to wallow in this madness? On the altar of political correctness? Why people continue to come into our space and slaughter us? When was the last time Yoruba people went to Sokoto to be kidnapping the Fulanis and the Hausas in Sokoto? When was the last time Yoruba people went to Maduguri to be kidnapping the people of Maduguri, of Kanuris in Maduguri? When was the last time Yoruba people went to Igbo land demanding lands, saying, if you don't give us land, we are going to kill people? When did we go to Ijo land? When did we go to Efik land? When did we go to Ibibio land? But we have so much for people coming from the north. We must surrender our ancient waterways where we worship our ancestors because it is for Nigeria. Damn Nigeria. A Nigeria that was set up to destroy our people. The reason why Nigeria gets away with impunity is because of the moderate liberals in our midst that continue to hold their people down to be raped, to be destroyed, and to be banished. You are the people why we are down. Tinubu is not the reason why we are down. Obasanjo is not the reason why Yoruba people are. It is the educated illiterates in Yoruba land. You guys are the reason. You rationalize every irrationality. When we talk about self-determination, you tell us about PVC. Let us go and join the system. Let us go and change the system. But anytime you remember the American Revolution was not a tea party. It was a bloody revolution. Anytime you talk about the Russian Revolution was not a tea party. It was a bloody revolution. Anytime you talk about the Haiti Revolution was not a tea party. It was a bloody revolution. You want to talk about how apartheid ended. PVC did not end apartheid. Men paid the ultimate price. The powers that be need to hear our voices. They know you guys are unreasonable. They don't even take you serious because they know you are dumb. Can't you go? You don't know history. You don't know sociology. You don't know political. You have nothing. They just tell you nonsense. PVC, you jump on it. PVC has never given anybody freedom anywhere in the world. There must be an ideological movement. An ideological movement is not you want to hit. That's not ideological movement. The ideological movement is what is Nigeria? We need to renegotiate Nigeria, the people's constitution. Voxi populi, voxi dei, the voice of the people, the voice of God. That must be the cornerstone of our existence as Yoruba people. We have Ayo here. Ayo, do you want to go? Okay.
Yes. Ayo, hello. Are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me now, please?
Yes, yeah, you can go.
Loud and clear.
Thank you for giving me the time. Although I would have loved to have come in quite earlier, but a lot of things have been said already. So what I was really hoping to see was actually like a debate, because according to the topic, it says 2020 elections versus sovereign Yoruba nation. But unfortunately, I haven't heard anyone speaking for a 2023 election, and maybe that's a sign that
I'm coming now. They are speaking. If you want to speak for 2023 elections, you can have 10 minutes.
No. No. So let me tell you what I actually have somewhere I'm going though. So let me just land, please. So I haven't actually had anyone speak for 2023 election. So maybe that's a sign that people are beginning to, think for a minute and like try to see where we are coming from. Because for someone like me, reading the letter of Kekleopo to the Belgium is enough. To the missionaries in Congo, is enough for me to start doubting the entire story that I've been told. Because normally I'm an historian and I've learned a lot of lies, so I had to unlearn, and so that's just what I'm trying to explain. And I think we are getting there. And people are putting in the work already. So we are not going to wait until everybody is fully enlightened until we call it a break, until we pull out completely. So that's majorly the baseline of what I just wanted to say. We are not going to wait for everybody to be on our side. We already know what the problem is. We know what the problem is. We know what has been keeping us down, and we are going to fix it. You understand? We are not going to wait for anybody. We are not going to wait for everybody. Because if we say we want to wait for everybody, we are going to wait. We are going to keep waiting. So we are not going to wait for everybody. We are going to do what we have to do. And education doesn't end. Even after our nation is attained, we are still going to educate everybody. We are still going to keep everybody on track. We are all one. As long as you're a Yoruba person, you have the Yoruba blood in you, and we are going to teach you to be how am I going to put you? We are going to teach you if you don't want to learn. So we are going to teach you to love your ethnicity. So that's all right. That's how it's going to be. Sorry, I'm a little bit busy. I won't be able to talk much. So.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ayo, for your wonderful submission. I think the most important thing that I got from there is that we shouldn't wait for everyone, and we should just continue with our cry and voice for freedom. So I would go on to Meruvin. Meruvin, are you there? Meruvin. Meruvin, feel free to open your mic.
Hello. Hello, good evening, everyone.
Yeah, we can hear you. Go on.
Yeah. So I like the topic that came up just nice. About I only want to speak about the topic and about 2023 election and versus sovereignty of Yoruba nation. It's very sad that I still see a lot of Nigerians, youth especially, still going out like they want to get their PVC and something like. This is not even what anybody should be like going out for to get at this very moment. In this very 2023, in this very 2022, because these same people, they are, in fact, the three of the aspirants, they are still very people that have been in power before. So, and there's not any significant change. So, what I was thinking was everyone should be speaking on one thing, like we want to separate. Like this system is not helping anyone, especially in this very Nigeria. But here we are, 70% of Nigerian youth right now, 70%, let me say 70%, they are only going out for this PVC stuff. It's very saddening, very saddening. But what I say is, you see, Yoruba nation will come. I'm 100% sure of this. As long as we don't, everyone under this chat now, they didn't stop, they just keep to the same voice. Yoruba nation will come. Yes. So thank you everyone. I like the work everyone is putting into this progress. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, brother. This is just one of the reasons why we are having this conversation. We need to enlighten people on the things that need to be done, and also just to let you know that whenever you're having a conversation on how to move Nigeria forward, and you're not coming from an historical perspective, then I have no idea. Some people will just go around here, on Twitter, even having conversation with them in real life, and they just tell you, yes, let's forget history and move on. And then you just laugh. Some even had this very particular rhetorics where they feel like in this day and world, they are trying to tell us to go back to Yoruba nation. Shade Yoruba la masombe. Arabic la maso, Abika Russian. A lot of our people are really, really damaged goods. Coming from the perspective that we definitely know that there is no developed country in the world where they don't speak their own, mother tongue. So a lot of our people need to get, our people are lost, historically. I like to call them educated illiterates. But then,
yes,
this is one of the reasons why we are here. We're going to constantly continue to have this conversation. 2023 is a total waste of time. And
yes,
if you know that you probably feel like you want to you want something that works. You want education. You feel like you want security. Then there's a reason and there's a need for us to have a conversation on how to move Nigeria forward. But moving Nigeria forward is definitely not by PVC. We've been there, we've done it, and we are done with it. So basically, if you're still down there, if you are obedient, you articulate, or you are bad, come up stage and tell us, what are your plans on how you think you want to move Nigeria forward. Feel free to come up stage. We would have an intellectual conversation with you. Don't be scared. There's nothing to be scared about. You need to be man enough, and then let's have a conversation beyond. We need to unite. Why are you begging for unity after 60 years of making a country, called Nigeria? Why beg for the unity? And just like what Aare Kurunmi said, a lot of you, you even talk around trying to be like, yes, we need to teach our brothers in the north how to become westernized. Yeah, I mean, a lot of you don't even understand. You don't understand how systems work. You don't understand that people see things differently based on their worldview. And you just go around, trying, when a lot of our brothers talk, we sometimes, we are trying to think like, what sort of education do these people have? So yeah. Anyways, since there's nobody coming up, I'm going to ask Aare Kurunmi and Egbon Ifadare one last question each, and then we'll start to round up. Aare Kurunmi, should I go with you or I should go with Egbon Ifadare? Aare is not.
You should go with Ifadare. I'll go after him.
So Egbon Ifadare, you're going to join this question with also your closing remark. I'll do the same with Aare Kurunmi. Where do you see the Yoruba people 20 years from now, in or outside of Nigeria?
Can you guys hear me?
Loud and clear, sir.
Oh, loud and clear. All right. Well, thank you for having me again. And, I want to thank everybody on the stage. I want to thank my brother, Aare Kurunmi, and of course, Mr. Femi and Koiki. I want to thank everybody. 20 years from now, if we continue to do what we do, by that I mean the Yoruba nationalists, if we continue to intensify our campaigns, if we continue to protest, if we continue to rally, if we don't relent, I think 20 years from now, I see a free, sovereign Yoruba nation. But if we relent, if we participate in Nigeria's fraudulent elections, if we continue to participate in anything that has to do with Nigeria, then Yoruba nation is doomed. In that regards, I see Yoruba nation that's conquered, because every time that we continue to stay inside one Nigeria is a marginal gain for the Fulani Mohammedans. The creation of 36 federating units is a marginal gain for the Fulani. The destruction of the regional federation is a marginal gain for the Fulani. The imposition of the 1999 military decree, Misnomer Constitution, on Yoruba people is a marginal gain for Fulani. The Water Resources Bill, if passed, will be a massive marginal gain for the Fulani. So every time that we continue to be inside one Nigeria, the Fulani Mohammedans, they gain. So, and every time we continue to be or participate in the Nigerian Federation, we lose. And eventually, we'll be doomed if we continue to be in there. What I want to tell people, and I'm imploring all nationalists to come together and fight for the freedom of Yoruba nation. Whatever you have that you can use to liberate, to free Yoruba people from this contraption called One Nigeria, please, I'm imploring you vehemently to use it, because Nigeria as a contraption is doomed. In fact, I've always said it, that it's dead and buried. The only thing that keeps it alive is our participation in it. Once we withdraw our participation, it will surely fall. So 20 years from now, where I see Yoruba nation, I see a sovereign Yoruba nation that with its own standing army that can defend its people. Today, inside one Nigeria, Yoruba people being killed every day, the women are being raped, children being blown into pieces in churches, and some people still tell us to stay inside one Nigeria. That's insanity. One Nigeria is a pathology, and the people that support one Nigeria are pathological. We have to exercise these people. I'm talking about Yoruba people that support one Nigeria. We have to exercise them and take that pathology from them. And the only way we can do it is to intensify our campaign, is to support Yoruba nation, is to think Yoruba first. Thinking Yoruba first is not a sexy slogan. It's something that we need to embrace. We need to embrace our Yorubaness. We need to embrace Yoruba language. We need to embrace Yoruba culture. We need to embrace Yoruba customary law and Yoruba philosophy. That is the only way that we can win. If we don't embrace our Yorubaness unconditionally, we will lose. So we have to always think Yoruba first. Nations that are stable, progressive, and powerful in this world are ethno-linguistic homogeneous, meaning they have commonality of language, commonality of culture, and commonality of philosophy. That is not what we have in Nigeria. Nigeria is a Europe engineered conglomerate of disparate ethnic nations. Unfortunately, Yoruba nation has to be one of the ethnic nations being amalgamated with the other ethnic nations within Nigerian space. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have to all come together to pull Yoruba nation out of Nigeria. That is the only way for us. Otherwise, we are doomed. Imagine if the Water Resources Bill passes. What would be the position of Yoruba people? What would be the state of Yoruba people? Today, $1 is probably, I think it's 650 naira. What are we going to do with this, Nigeria economic situation is worsening every day. And why? Because one Nigeria is anti-production. You cannot be inside one Nigeria and progress and produce anything. We have to create Yoruba nation that's viable, that can compete with other ethnic nations within Nigerian space. That is what we need to do. There was a time they asked the Sultan of Sokoto, which supersedes the other, the Nigerian constitution or the Sharia law? Without missing words, he said the Sharia supersedes the Nigerian constitution. So the northern agenda, the Fulani Mohammedans, their agenda is Fula conquest, is northern agenda, it's Arewa agenda. Unfortunately, a lot of Yoruba traditional elites and political elites, their agenda is one Nigeria. And that is why we continue to lose. People like Tinubu, people like all our Obas, their agenda should be Yoruba agenda and not one Nigerian agenda. There's nothing for us. We set to gain nothing from one Nigeria. So to you, I say, support Yoruba nation. That is the only way to go. If you don't support Yoruba nation, the Yoruba people are doomed forever. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Egbon Fadari. Thank you very much. Isoko Queen, I noticed you were trying to come up, but apologies, this network, I don't know. I really don't know what's happening. Anyways, just before I go to Aare, Jimo, are you coming to make a submission or you want to ask a question? Jimo, are you there? All right. Jimo,
yeah, I'm here.
All right.
I'm here.
Yeah.
I want to make a submission.
All right. Could you do that under 3 minutes, please?
Okay. All right. Okay. So, I first and foremost want to say good day to everybody, and it's good to be here on Spaces again, discussing the necessity to break free from the Nigerian contraption. Of course, I know that the discussion would have gone the way of elucidating the fact that Nigeria is a creation of Western colonialism. And the reason for that is
Jimo, I've lost you, Jimo. I think you're using MTN. You need to go by Glow. Am I the only one who has lost Jimo?
And unfortunately for us, like
all right.
One from the remnants of hello.
Yeah, we lost you, but now we can hear you again.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Do you have a tree in your compound? Maybe you should try climbing on to the branch or something. Your network is bad. Digimo, no, we've lost you finally. Okay, let's give him some few seconds and see if he's gonna come back.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Okay. So, as I was saying, just to wrap it up, because I'm having network issues, we are suffering from double colonialism. That is the Western or global colonialism by the whites, and then the remnants of Arab slavery and Arab colonialism, which the Fulanis represents. And both of them are working hand in hand. Of course, the British handed over to lesser colonialists, who are the Fulanis. And just to make these things clear, some persons say we keep blaming the British, but that's not the case. Nigeria is still a neo-colony. Okay, Nigeria was a colony before, but now it is a neo-colony. And the independence that we had was just flag independence. And just to buttress that point, a report just came out of recent. I think it came out some days ago.
All right. Anyways, I think we finally. Yeah. Anyways, I've checked through the room. I've been able to see, some people who believe in one Nigeria. Like I said, do not be scared to come up on
really
stage.
Changed. You understand? They've not really come to the
I understand.
They have not really seen.
Wait.
Mr. Jimo, can you wait? Your network is very, very bad. Maybe we just have to change your location. We lost close to 5-10 minutes trying to figure out your network. So maybe you just have to come back, because we want to wrap up as fast as possible. So your network is very, very bad. So Mr. Femi.
Hello, yes. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes.
All right. So Mr. Jimo Ejo, Tebati Gungi, let me know, or change your network. I'll advise Glow though. Anyways, so moving forward, in case you are down there and you believe, that there's a reason for you to hold on to Nigeria, we still have some few minutes, feel free, jump on stage and let's hear you out. But I reckon, the bigger thing I would just say is, my question is, who is a Yoruba person? Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Firstly, since I don't know what's happening, Isoko Queen, we've been trying to bring you on stage. I don't know what's happening. The network is so bad. I've approved it several times. Mr. Femi, can you also try to see how we can bring up Isoko Queen to come on stage to speak? She's a friend. I don't know what is happening. Maybe she should also try to come back again. Come back in and we can bring her on stage. The network is so bad. Okay, but anyways, I think this is my last submission, right? The moderator, Mr. Femi.
Yes, sir.
Okay, please. Okay. I greet everybody once again in the name of Olodumare. I'm really grateful to the Almighty Creator for giving us this opportunity to come once again to come and preach this message of freedom. And my words are not going to be much, because we know that if we continue to speak from now till tomorrow, those who want to be saved will be saved, and those who don't want to be saved will not be saved. I will first start by answering the question you asked my brother, Ifadari. And what was the question you asked? The question you asked was, in 20 years, what is the future of Nigeria? That alone is a Twitter space topic. It's a symposium topic, a conference topic. In 20 years, this is going to be the future of Nigeria. Nigeria is on its way to Afghanistan. One, there are large spaces of land in Nigeria that are controlled by non-state actors. Powerful, efficient, well-armed with sophisticated weapons, and they are very, very rich. They have the money to wage war against the Nigerian state for the next 10 years. And they are patiently waiting. Patiently waiting. The patience of the jihadists is second to none. Taliban waited for 20 years. They waited for 20 years before taking over Afghanistan. Same thing with Al-Qaeda, which later metamorphosized into ISIS. They waited for close to 15 years before showing their face in Syria and Iraq after the fall of Saddam Hussein. Everywhere the Europeans have went to, all over the world, they have always connived with the Arab world against the indigenous people. When the British got to an area called Iraq, Persia, Turkey, they connived with them in order to subjugate the Kurds. When the French and other Europeans, they got to North Africa, they connived with the Arabs to subjugate the Berbers. When the Europeans, the British to be specific, got to Sudan, they connived with the Arabs to subjugate the blacks. When they got to the area of Nigeria, they connived with the Arabized Semitic Africans in the person of the Fulanis to subjugate the blacks. This is what they've done. It's the same pattern everywhere. When they got to South Africa, they connived with their kinsmen, the Afrikaners, the Boers, to subjugate the blacks. When they got to Namibia, they connived with the settlers called the Germans to subjugate the blacks. It's the same pattern everywhere. That is why the killings of the people of the Middle Belt, of the people of Southern Nigeria is nothing. If you like, millions of you be killed, nothing will be done. They don't care. Because this has been their pattern for the past 500 years. The West did not bring, the British did not come to Nigeria to create a good Nigeria for you. They created Nigeria to destroy you. And they created that Nigeria to steal resources needed to build prosperity and wealth for their people abroad. I mean, in England, in the United Kingdom, that was what they did. And they did it without thinking twice, with joy. That is why those who think they own Nigeria, they are so arrogant. They kill with impunity and get away with it. What is the future of the Yoruba nation? Right in our lifetime, we've seen what the Fulanis they are planning to do to us. There is no place on earth except where people are conquered, where people that are not indigenous are asking for indigenous lands. And you still end up saying one Nigeria. I think maybe we should calm down and start talking in basic language to our people. Maybe they can understand the threat and the danger that is at hand. Evil is already upon the land. But unfortunately, we have a youth that are destined for destruction. We have youth whose also aim is to dissolve, is to destroy everything their forefathers have worked for. They don't even care that in the core north, they still have a form of Sharia, where they cannot drink their beer, the kind of beer, the kind of clubs you attend in the south, you cannot attend it in the north. You know.
Can you mute your mic and think Yoruba?
You know that Nigeria is nothing but a clash of civilization. You know that the people you are sitting down with, talking about one Nigeria with, they've told you what they wanted. They want a Sharia law to govern their lives. Tell me, what is the difference between Pantami and Abubakar Shekau? Pantami that was caught on television, live or caught or recorded, praying for the success of Taliban to take over Afghanistan. Caught praying in the mosque with hundreds, if not thousands of people saying, Ami, that they are praying for Al-Qaeda to succeed. And you think the West gives a damn about you. Even the Taliban was built and sponsored, called the Mujahideen, they were sponsored by the West. Whether you like it or not, the Taliban are now the official government of Afghanistan. The Nigerian government will finally negotiate with Boko Haram and give them a form of autonomy to control that space, and there is nothing you people will do about it. You see those Fulani militias that know how to use the weapon left and right, they will be incorporated into the Nigerian army. And what do you guys, brothers and sisters, the Gen Z generation, what do you have to protect yourself when that day happens and your space turns to Darfur and they take over your entire space? You only have PVC. The reason why you are asking for PVC is not because you don't know there is a problem. The reason is because you are cowards. You have no ideology to protect. You see the problem, you see the danger, but you are too afraid to face it. That is why you continue to look for a solution where there's no solution. As for all Yoruba people, the pure Yoruba nationalists, this is our way forward. We need to be consistent. We need to embrace true nationalists and embrace Yoruba nationalism to the core. The Fulani militias that are asking for land, killing indigenous people, wiping people out, they are nationalists. They are Fulani nationalists. That is the bitter truth. And if you want to face these people, you must throw. Liberalism cannot fight nationalism. It has never won. I repeat, liberalism can never fight nationalism. It can never win. You will be consumed. You will be consumed. So the only way is to organize ourselves and continue to educate our youth. The reason why, let me tell you, the northern youth, Hausa Fulani youth, they are far more educated than southern youth. Speaking English is not equivalent to having high intellectual quotient, IQ. It's not equivalent to it. They understand self-preservation. They understand their history. They know their problem. And they are very realistic about what they want. Ask any Hausa Fulani Muslim to come up. They will still come and defend Sharia law. When Deborah was lynched, don't you see professors from the north defending the killing of Deborah in a supposedly secular country? And Nigeria has moved on. If you think PDC will save you, Nigeria will kill you and Nigeria will move on. They will take over your lands, they will take over your space, and Nigeria will move on. And you still see some of your yeye British people whose IQ is not qualified to even be in secondary schools that are now forming leaders on social media. People cannot hold any high-class intellectual conversation for 10 minutes. Reprogramming our youth for destruction. Telling our youth to destroy their ethnic identity. Telling our youth to flee from self-determination. In this same century, just a few weeks ago, we see Scotland talking about self-determination. That the Scottish people, despite having that level of autonomy within England, within the United Kingdom, they still want their independent country. Are you going to tell me Scotland is a poor country? Scotland is a prosperous country, a first world country. It's not a shithole like Nigeria. It's an ethnic nation. The Scot is an ethnic nationality, just like the Yoruba is an ethnic nationality. And when it comes to civilization building, when it comes to history, when it comes to power, the Scottish people do not even have what the Yoruba people have. They are not close to us. But they can speak with passion and say, we want to be sovereign. In as much the world continues to exist, self-determination will still continue to be on the mouth of every indigenous people across the world. You cannot run away from it. There is no empire that has lasted forever. The Fulanis know what they want. They are consistent about it. And which is the turning of Nigeria into a Fulani empire. Nigeria is turning into a Fulani empire. And I'm going to give you 5 things they've done. 1, they made sure they destroyed the Nigerian constitution and they turned it to a unitary system of government. For you to create a medieval, in fact, the kind of empire they want to create in Nigeria used to be that kind of empire we had in the 16th century and 17th century. So, if we don't get out of Nigeria, your life will be messed up. Because this is feudalism full blown. Because this is a centralized empire, a unitary system of government, hijacked by a particular ethnic bloc. A nation controlling other nations. That is internal colonialism. And they are so crafty, so intelligent in what they are doing. And they messed up our educational. Why do you think they are destroying our educational system? Bring PDP. PDP will do the same and destroy the educational system too. Because that educational system, and they know, the educational system you are going to get in private schools, in private universities, you cannot do unionism there. You cannot learn revolution there. And they will destroy it. They will not be allowed, you will not be able to learn revolution in those spaces. So, this is the problem. They've destroyed the lives of our youth. The universities have been closed for close to 6-7 months. They are talking about making Nigeria great. They are doing as if nothing happens. And this is not about party. That is the problem. Don't fall for that trick, for that trap, and thinking it's a party, this is an individual. It's a Nigerian problem. It's a Nigerian. Why should a Fulani man be the Minister of Education?
Can you imagine?
Controlling your education. You Ijesa.
African first, I cite you.
Is it possible for the English to be controlling the education of the Scots? Is it possible for the Irish to be controlling the education system of the Welsh? They will never accept it, even though they're in the same country.
They don't go listen.
That was why the Irish fought a brutal civil war, forming the Aare, in order to get regional autonomy from England. Go and read about the Good Friday Agreement. These are people that are more civilized than you. So when you talk about that your freedom, they are going to tell you, it is not sexy to be very violent about your freedom. If you are not violent for your freedom, that means you are not in pain. The pain, that means the pain you are suffering from is not enough. That's why we need to do what we need to do in this generation. No matter what. Let me tell you something. If you fight for freedom, If you don't fight for freedom, you will be killed. People that are not going about farming in our villages are being raped, killed in their hundreds, if not thousands, across the country. So when you fight and demand justice, the injustice that have been entrenched against our forefathers for the past 100 years. Shakespeare says something, and I quote, "Cowards die many times before their death, but the valiant taste death but once." The Yoruba people say, and Yoruba people also said, "Mi ò lè kú kan olèwájú ilé bàbá ẹ̀." I don't know you. Because these executives are done individuals. They know nothing. Go to their space. They will not talk about the history. You mention history, they start peeing in their pants. Please keep quiet. You don't talk about it. Is that the kind of people you should listen to? I'm talking to you, Gen Z generation. I'm talking to you. You're already preparing about BB Nigeria. Because that's what your brain can comprehend. That's what your brain has been wired to do. You guys should be planning about how you are going to explore Jupiter, explore Saturn. All you talk about now is Japa. Or what you talk about is BB Nigeria. Or what you talk about is PVC. Is that the revolutionary thing? And people are telling you they need your water, they need your water, they need your land. They couldn't get the land in 1976 when they did the Land Use Act. They put it to the state government. They gave the state government under the military. Because they were thinking at a point in time is coming that even the state government will be controlled by the Fulanis. Can you imagine? After they fully Fulanize the rest of us. To all Yorubas listening to me, look at what they did in Ilorin, in Kwara State. Just one city that they were able to steal from us. Just one town. It's not even up to a city. A town. And the rest of the Yoruba people that are not even under the suzerainty of Ilorin became lieutenants. They just need just one local government from you. They call it the theory of marginal gains. Just like my brother said, they just need to be amongst you and they will decimate you. They are just in your forest already and they are decimating you. Why do you think they want to be in your space at all costs? Why do you think they want to change the demography? Why do you think they are perpetrating secular colonialism? What? The way apartheid started was through secular colonialism. You brought foreigners to come and be living and taking space amongst the indigenous people. It is destruction that will end us. And they are doing it so that day, when you guys now finally realize that you want self-determination, it will be too late. They will tell you they also have the right to vote. They will tell you they are not going anywhere. Why do you think Ukraine is in trouble? Ukraine is in trouble because the eastern Ukraine where you have ethnic Russians, they were brought there during the period of Stalin. They were forced there and they forced themselves, displaced the indigenous people. Close to 80 years later, the Ukrainians now say they don't want to have anything with Russians. You cannot send away people that have forced themselves and living in there. And they are now living in where there is the most richest place in Ukraine in terms of mineral resources. That's why Ukrainians are saying Eastern Ukraine is their ancestral space. But secular colonialism is one of the most easiest way to expand and steal land from indigenous people. And they are talking about waterways. They will take water and they will take the land. Not just water. And maybe we are going to come to this space and also talk about the importance of water in Fulani jihad. Every Fulani jihad, they've always traced water. Every Fulani jihad. They built nothing less than 4 empires in West Africa. Masina Empire, Futadalan Empire, Futatoro Empire, Tokulo Empire, Sokoto Kalibi. That's 5 empires. Every of those empires, there was a water. So it is very, very important. Even the Roman Empire was built near water. Ottoman Empire was built because of water. Oyo Empire was also built along River Niger. Oya, Odroja, there was a water. That was why our capital was in that area before. The area of Jeba. And you don't know, some people are so very, very, that you think they are attacking Benue. They are attacking Benue because they need that land in Benue. They need to control that space in Benue. The world is free for all. Everybody is just grabbing lands. And they continue to push. The whole of North Africa, black people used to be there. The whole of Sudan used to be called Nubia. Nubia means black people. Even Sudan was an Arab word for black people. They pushed us out. They pushed us from North Africa. They are pushed us from East Africa. Now we are even along the coastal area of West Africa. Where are they pushing us to? Where do you guys think they are going to? You either kill them, they either wipe us out, or we become slaves forever. This kind of rhetoric, the difference between a moderate Hausa Fulani supremacists and the Fulani militias and Boko Haram is just the tactics. That is the difference between them. That is the difference between them. So if we don't do what we need to do, we will be consumed and we will be conquered. Thank you everybody once again. Thank you everybody, moderators and those that have spoken.
Thank you so much.
This is Think Yoruba First. You can join our community Telegram platform. It's pinned there. If you want to be part of us, contact any of the moderators. We, this generation, we ensure Yoruba land is free. We are not terrorists. If those who killed Deborah can put their mind, they can come outside and say, yes, we killed Deborah. There's nothing we do. We want Yoruba nation and we are bringing our chest outside. We are tribalists. Call us anything you want to call us. Yoruba land must be Yoruba land must be used to develop Yoruba space. We are not asking for too much. We are not Nigerians. We are Yoruba first. Call us anything you want to call us. No apologies. 2023 election is an exercise in futility.
No election anymore.
Embrace self-determination. Maybe we can have a chance to survive what is about to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Kurunmi. Thank you very much. I really do not want the conversation to end, but the conversation thing, I think it's gonna end. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, Rewaju, for joining. Alagba Ifadare, thank you very much. And to Aare Kurunmi, the president of Think Yoruba First, we thank you very much. For those who are joining us on our Twitter space for the first time, do follow us. Follow Aare Kurunmi. Follow the handle Think Yoruba First, so you get to have an idea of our next rooms. And you can follow us on Clubhouse. You can follow us on Twitter. You can follow us. Okay, I can see Koiki trying to come up. Let's see if the network would let him talk. Because we've been having network issues. So yeah. So do not forget the conversation today. Okay, I can see Koiki trying to come.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much.
Where can we thank you enough? We can't. We can't. I mean, and you are a very, very, you are a true Yoruba son. You know, and these are the characteristics that we are trying to tell our people about. You know, a lot of people have actually insulted what it means to be an Omoluabi. They forget that even you know, the Omoluabi code of conduct. You know, there has to be valor. You know, Kenyan Sotito. You know, and Sito then so it lead to my frustration. You know, so we've had this conversation. We're gonna be coming back every now and then. For those who want to listen to us or the things we've talked about, you can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on Apple Music. Think Yoruba First. You can also find us on YouTube.
Mike when I was just passing my own message to them.
To have them, because we believe
But I think they're
that
back
the Yoruba
now.
people, have every right and every means
We have every
to
right.
have their own nation.
There's no doubt about that.
So as you go into your workplaces starting tomorrow, Monday, go everywhere, speaking your Yoruba language.
And be proud
go
of it.
everywhere when your Yoruba attire. Feel proud. You have the blood of your ancestors in you.
Then.
Make demand. Because if there is going to be peace, there needs to be justice.
I say go on that you join one on the
There's fire
platform.
on the mountain, and a lot of us are not paying attention.
If
you go and check out,
thank you so much.
What is being tweeted in the Nigerian space?
Like I said, I didn't realize that the mic was off.
Nigeria. And these are conversations that you just need to shake your head.
Yes, we inherit Yoruba land from our forefathers. Fulani can never overthrow us. OPC, Hunters, Agbekoya, to start declare war against Fulani this year. Odua today.
The manager of Think Yoruba First, and thank
you very much. Like I said, the sound went for like 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, my father. Thank you Yoruba First.
2 years ago, they contacted me. That guy,
Thank you very much.
I say Ghana African folks.
Thank you very much, KOIKIMEDIA. Thank you very much, Odogu. Thank you very much, Omodua, Isoko Queen. Aki Konju, thank you very much. Yoruba
Enough
Goddess.
is enough.
Yoruba Goddess, that is one of our gallant members, our PRO. Thank you very much.
They almost finished it, so sir, please can you download this voice play? It's on the MixLR. I'm going to share the link with us. So that's like a voice recorded version. So I'm sharing that now for those that might probably want to.
But then just before we go, the Yoruba land is, we like to say the Yoruba land is under attack.
It's under attack, yeah.
I'm going to leave you with a wonderful song.
So anytime do a link here.
Just before I do, never forget.
And it will be on all our platforms forever.
I've always wanted it, for the past 200 years.
We should be proud of Yoruba. There's nothing wrong with it. Mokiba Bawa Stephen Emmanuel.
Was the reason why
Mr.
our
Fatai.
uncle, Uncle Bola.
What can wrap up, so I can also talk just below the speaker. So the speaker is just appreciating people. That's all is happening now.
Chief Sunday Igboho was preaching this message. Was attacked.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni. Wọ́n fi pa sínú ilé mi, Ọlọ́run ló fi wọ́n ṣe. Dúpẹ́ fọ́lọ́run ọba.
The persons of Adogun and
Adogun àtàfà àpèsè Ọlọ́run. Mo kí ń bẹ̀ ìyá mi Elizabeth Ọmọ́táyọ̀. Omíkúnlé Tóyìn mo kí yín o. Gbogbo yín pátápátá yìí tẹ́ wà lórí Instagram. We love every single one of you. Jumoke Oyeleke, yeah.
I was about to. That never forgets that Jumoke was also massacred.
Benny. Yami Janet, Yoruba sovereignty is what we want. You're quite right.
Lots of names to mention.
Mr. Larry Waju Adedepe.
We will continue. We would never
Oduas Baba.
We would never forget.
Yoruba first. We love you.
Anyways, just before I go, like I said,
Ewa Anu
give
Adebisi.
you for a food for thought.
Okay.
And just for you to think about it. And we'll call it a day. But yeah, let's enjoy together.
ẹ má bínú, sorry, mo ti gbàgbé pé mo ti yọ kúrò lórí software pé mic mo fi, ẹ má bínú èèyàn wa, ẹ má bínú Mr. Aziz, ẹ̀gbọ́n mi, ẹ má bínú Odu àti dé. Sorry about that. Orumoru, Abis Olorun. Yeah, I'm gonna try and bring them on KOIKIMEDIA. They'll come and speak to us. Ìyá Oòduà, ẹ káalẹ́ mà. Ẹ bá máa kí àwọn ọmọ yín. Orumoru, a gbọ́dọ̀ dá dúró sọ́gbọ́n ẹ̀. Láti on the 28 làwọn eléyìí ti wà nínú igbó pẹ̀lú àwọn Fúlàní terrorists. Ẹ wọ ẹ náà, Abis Ọlọ́run. Mo kíyàn Mr. Rotimi. Ẹ bọ́ ṣe ń ná wọn lẹ́gbàá. Ẹ ṣe. Ọlọ́run tó lè lẹ́gbàá.
Right. I should call Oda. Thank you about first about Yara.
So that is about it. It has now officially ended. Now let's just watch this without no interruption. Ẹ jẹ́ gbọ́ ilé náà.
gwamnatin Najeriya saboda rashin kula ta hana ƴan uwanmu su karɓo mu. A dalilin haka muke kira ga manyan ƙasashen duniya irin su Ingila, su Amerika, su Faransa da sauran international community da su Saudi Arabia da su shigo wannan al'amuran su ga cewa an samu maslaha. Saboda mutanen nan a gaskiya aniyarsu ma ba su so mu kwana sati ɗaya ba, kwana 7 a biya musu bukatunsu don su sake mu. Amma gwamnatin Najeriya ta yi buris da wannan al'amari ta nuna ba ruwanta. A dalilin haka muke ƙara kira da manyan ƙasashen duniya irin su Faransa da Saudiya da Saudi Arabia da Ingila da Amerika da su taimaka da other international communities su United Nations su ECOWAS su OAU da su shigo su taimake mu don su ga an samu maslaha mun koma ga iyalanmu.
Wannan shine sakamakon abin da muguwar gwamnatin Najeriya ta haifar wa ƴaƴanta. Kuna ganewa, duba da kyau, wannan shine sakamako, ba nufin mu bari mu aiwatar da wani amma sakamakon abin da
ẹwà ọmọ kékèké lórí Ọlọ́run ọba
wai da nan su tattauna don a karɓi
lọ́n kù sùúrù.
suna nan suna shan shayin su. Ku sani
Ẹ wo ìbọn tó gbé dání sọ́wọ́,
ba wata kwamiti da muka
ẹ wo ìbọn tó wà lọ́wọ́ wọn, ọmọ Yorùbá.
kun sani kokarin ku shine aiwatar wai ku karɓe su da ƙarfi.
Àṣé ẹ̀ tún gbọ́mọ́ ni ṣọ́ọ́dì òyìn jáde again ni. Anyway, I don't even know what to say anymore. Nigeria yẹn. Ṣé ẹ gbọ́ voice àwọn people yẹn lẹ́ẹ̀kan ni? Wá ti gbá sí fáwọn ìyá yẹn, wọ́n á ti bá wọn sùn bí wọ́n á máa fi wọ́n ṣe press up ní jàre. Gbogbo àwọn ìyá yẹn pátápátá. Gbogbo ṣé ẹ gbọ́ nígbà tí fídíò yẹn ń play lẹ́ẹ̀kan ni? Okay, the audio is fine. Ìgbà tí bàbá mi kalẹ̀ jáde náà wọ̀n gbọ́ mo ṣe tún wọ́n dà ní. Wá ti bá wọn ìyá yẹn sùn. Ọlọ́run mò ń ṣeré. Ẹ jẹ́ tún play lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí kẹrin. Ẹ jẹ́ kí wọ́n show, ẹ jẹ́ increase the size fídíò yẹn lọ́dọ̀ mi bíbá. Again, push it up ladder. Now, so we increase it. Listen, again. Listen, again. Ah, voila, wow. Ẹ má bínú ẹjẹ́ ń yọ Think Yoruba First yẹn kúrò tẹ̀lé rí dáadáa àlọ́ àwọn yẹn mọ́. A dúpẹ́ fún àwọn Think Yoruba First for that very beautiful program that we just watched from them. Lẹ́yìn video, I'm going to end the broadcast because I know my brother Ijesa is on. Èmi náà dẹ̀ fẹ́ lọ gbọ́ nǹkan tó ń sọ. So after this one, I'm going to end this. So ká kọ̀ wo video lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí and when we end it, ká lọ sí Ijesa ká lọ gbọ́ nǹkan tí bàbá wa Ijesa sọ. So let's just watch this again. And then we will end it after that. Ẹ̀rí àyè bó ṣe ń kanra ìyá yẹn kanra gan pé dáa fẹ́ pa òun kẹ́ pa òun dànù darí. Fídíò yẹn gan ó wà painful. Ẹ jẹ́ ká end broadcast kí n lọ gbọ́ Ijesa. Ẹ ṣé gan everybody. Tá bá ní time á padà wá lálẹ́ if otherwise àsọdọ̀la nìyẹn lágbára Ọlọ́run. Everybody mo kí o. If I can make it back tonight, I will. If otherwise, export me la rolla. I'll be back again tomorrow morning. But for now, bye for now. I can't play anthem that if you close broadcast already. Ẹ̀yà kan gbọ́ wisdom ọ̀rọ̀ ìṣítí látọ̀dọ̀ bàbá Ìgbòho.
Then fight for everything. And later, leave everything and go back with empty hand. God is powerful. Life is so funny. You come with nothing, then fight for everything, and later leave everything and go back with empty hand. God is powerful.